My name is Reverend Andre Shoemake with the Richmond Improvement Association, and I am so happy to have been given this opportunity to stand before you today and a program that I'm sure you all going to love, and it's going to be very informative, and folks, we're going to have fun while we're doing it. Somebody ought to say amen. So at this time, I want to call up the pastor of Independent Holiness Church. It is well known that the Independent Holiness Church is known as the smallest, biggest church in the city of Richmond. And so at this time, we'd like Pastor Landry to come forward. Landry in the lobby. Oh, my Lord. The pastor of the biggest little church in Richmond, Pastor Raymond Landry.
Thank you for your kindness. I believe it was the Apostle John who said in 3 John, I wish above all that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. And from that, we understand that with health and well-being, spirituality is a very important part of what we do. And one of the most important things in spirituality, particularly in many cultures, is prayer. People use it to self-care, to regulate their minds, to calm down, to breathe. And with all that's going on and have gone on through the pandemic and other things, we realize that if there's ever a time we need prayer and we need to breathe, it's now. Bring you greetings from Independent Holiness Church. We've been in the city of Richmond for 57 years, and we look to be here another 57 years doing exactly what we're doing right now, partnering with the community, with the people in the community, serving the people in the community with a whole person ministry. And when we talk about the whole person, not just teaching out of the Bible and praying, but doing exactly what is happening here today, where this great coalition has been brought together to help in a critical area. Let us pray. Father, I thank you today. I thank you for the minds that you have given Gail and Antoine and Eddie and others who have partnered with them to talk with others, to bring them to this place today. Thank you for every politician here, every mental health clinician, every organization that has come together in this place today. I thank you for the common man and woman who has walked in here with the need, with the want to try to better understand how to help themselves, body, mind, and spirit. I want to thank you for the city of Richmond working with this coalition, and the state of California, the county, for working with this coalition, Lord God, to address an immediate need to help us be well. I am praying today for every person here. I'm praying today that it might be well with them, body, mind, and soul. I'm praying today that the wish would come true. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you.
All right, next, we have a distinguished gentleman from the Richmond area that's coming up, the Honorable John Joyam. And as John is coming forward, I'm mindful of the fact when he first started campaigning to become a member of the board. John used to come by the North Richmond Missionary Baptist Church, which was then under the leadership of the late Reverend Dr. C.W. Newsom. And John used to always come there and talk about his love and care for the community of North Richmond. As a matter of fact, we used to see John there so much we thought he was a member of the church. And so he has come and has stood the test of time for so long, and he's still with us doing a wonderful work within Contra Costa County. It is my privilege and honor to introduce, to some and present the others, Supervisor John Joyner.
I think what he means by that is I'm old. It's great to see. You know, what's great about working in the Richmond community is we feel like family. You know, where's Reverend Shoemake? You know, when we see each other in one place, and then we see each other again somewhere else, and sometimes it's a few years later. Obviously, we've seen each other a lot more than that, but that we feel like we're all working toward the same cause. So I want to acknowledge, Reverend Shoemake, your many decades of leadership and work in North Richmond and Richmond, you know, and the employment opportunities and workforce opportunities you were providing at North Richmond Missionary Baptist years ago. So thank you. Plus, you know, working with people like you and all of you gives me the energy to advocate and to do this work. I think I feel strengthened and energized when I'm alongside all of you. So I want to thank you for that. So I'm here to help provide a welcome. And so I want to start by saying, on behalf of Contra Costa County, as someone who grew up in Richmond, lives in Richmond, and proud to represent Richmond, welcome today, and agreeing to spend much of your day to fight for better health and wellness for all people, because that's what this is about. And I want to thank Rich City Minds Network, the whole coalition, for organizing this event. It doesn't stop here. This is just one place and one step along the way to this longer journey of improving health and wellness in our community. And I want to acknowledge, because most of you are on the front lines of caring for others and working with others to make them more physically, mentally, and behaviorally fit and well. And I personally know a number of you, and I know how hard you work and how passionate you are about this vital work. So I applaud your efforts to make our community a healthier and more equitable place, and to create real equity, right, in providing the wellness support that is needed. So I want you to give yourself a hand for what you all do. And I want to acknowledge, I know we have the newly elected District Attorney in Alameda County, Pamela Price, here, who I know is, in her own work, understands and works in this same area of health and wellness, because it's related to criminal justice issues. So I know it's the morning, but I want to get some audience engagement. So I want to ask you, doesn't everyone deserve to be healthy and well? Everyone. Yes? Come on, I know it's morning. Yes. So our goal working together should be that everyone have equal access to quality physical and behavioral health services and support, right? So while our county health services professionals do a great job, we know that community-based organizations and providers are a necessary partnership in this work. We need each other. We need each other to work as partners if we're going to meet the needs of our community in providing health and wellness support. And I want to make a point here. I prefer calling it health and wellness support, not services. I think the term services sounds so clinical and plays into this false narrative that those who need mental health support are sick and ill and not normal, or they're dangerous, and that's exactly what we need to dispel, right? That we want to say everyone needs wellness and health support. Some need it more than others. And I think everyone here understands that, so I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but I think that's such an important thing for us to think about, because we're talking not just to those of us who do this work, but we're talking to people who need more understanding and education about health and wellness supports. And the reality is, we all know someone, whether it's ourselves personally, a friend, a family member, a work colleague. We know someone who needs health and wellness support, right? Raise your hand if you know someone who needs health and wellness support. We all do. And I know that all of us passionately believe that people who need this support all deserve to be treated with respect, and they all deserve dignity. And there is one thing they don't deserve. They do not deserve to be stigmatized, right? We want a stigma-free zone in Richmond, right? We want a stigma-free zone in Contra Costa County, right? In our state, in our country. Because the stigma that exists towards people who need mental health support perpetuates fear and misunderstanding. And that fear and misunderstanding can lead to prejudice and discrimination against our friends and our family. In fact, this fear and misunderstanding leads many people to believe that behavioral health wellness is not a real health issue. And they are so wrong. This fear and misunderstanding also leads sometimes to feelings of hopelessness and shame by those struggling to improve their behavioral health. And it can be a barrier to getting the support they need and deserve. And sometimes that fear and misunderstanding has led to the death of people who do not deserve to die just because they are experiencing a severe health crisis, right? Say his name, Miles Hall. Remember Miles Hall. I know all of you are committed to fighting that misunderstanding and fear. And we all know that addressing stigma takes understanding, it takes education, and it takes a closer look at our own attitudes toward health. So I have family members and friends who have faced health and wellness challenges. I spend time personally supporting them, so I know what it's like for those of you who support and care for others. It takes patience, takes emotional energy, takes understanding, time, and money. And we know, and you know this better than anyone, that our health systems are not well suited to quickly and adequately provide all the wellness support that people need. And that's why I know we are all here today to discuss and support changes and ways to make our health systems, whether it's the county's health system, our community health network, our private healthcare providers. I know you're all here to make them more responsive, more equitable, more culturally competent, more caring, all to meet the needs here in our community. I'm really proud that Contra Costa County, working with community and working with cities, is creating and funding, keyword, we're also funding, a behavioral health crisis response network called A3. And, A3 stands for anyone, anywhere, anytime, can call and receive culturally competent behavioral health professional help and support. And when it's fully implemented, they will get that support within 10 to 15 minutes with or without a law enforcement response, depending what's needed. Because sometimes a law enforcement response is not needed, sometimes it is. But to have a culturally competent behavioral health professional there to avoid people who are in crisis from suffering harm. If we can call 911 and get quick emergency medical response for a heart attack, we deserve and are entitled to the same emergency response when we are in behavioral health crisis, right? And we named our call center the Miles Hall Call Center after that tragic event in his honor. But that's only a piece of the whole system that needs to be improved and expanded. And you're all working on all parts of the system, on prevention and crisis and mentoring and other types of care. So I want to close by thanking and acknowledging all the providers who are here. I was going to name them all, but there are so many and they're all identified, all the great providers who are here, because it takes a village, it takes all of you working together with public systems like the county, and we are committed. I want to say, I know there are folks here from our health department as well. You're going to hear from our mental health director. I am committed personally, and the county is committed to working with all of you to create a better system of health and wellness support, especially those who face greater challenges and disparities in the African American community, in the Latino community, in communities that have more negative outcomes. And I'm committed to working with all of you to really make our community a healthier and more equitable place. And so again, this is just one step along the journey of all of that. And I thank you for spending much of your day to figure this out and work together on this. So thanks.
All right, next we have a gentleman who really needs no introduction. He's going to give us some opening remarks, Mr. Eddie Morris. And Eddie is someone we grew up here in Richmond together, as has many of you. He and I used to run into each other often over the past few years. Said, man, we got to get together and do something. Yeah, we got to do it, and we never made that connection. So last year, there was an event at Nickel Park. And I walked through the park, and I saw, talking with Antoine, he was introducing me to all these folks. And these were all mental health practitioners. And I'm like, wow. And so I was telling Eddie, I said, you know, my work over at Eastern Elementary School, I come in contact with students and parents who are in need of mental health support, health and wellness support. And so I said, Eddie, is it possible that we can get this group of practitioners to come to Nystrom? He talked, Antoine got to talking. So the next thing I know, we're hosting a self-care day in October 21 at Nystrom Elementary School. And folks, I'm telling you, it was amazing. The students loved it, the parents loved it, and the teachers loved it. As a matter of fact, Eddie, Twan, they've been wondering when is that we're going to bring that group back to Nystrom Elementary School. So I've said all that to say, out of that one conversation, and the vision that these men and the two gals had, and all the other women that's working with this coalition, this is happening today. And I'm going to call Eddie up as he's coming and share this with you. Some of you might be asking, well, what is the importance of this coalition? Well, I'm reminded of the words of an old Baptist, young Baptist preacher back in the day, who used to say, if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. And he would end it by saying, it's time to do something different. And folks, that something different is the coalition. Well, why you say that, Reverend Shoemake? Well, I'm so glad you asked. This coalition is bringing to the table what we refer to as luck. LUC. Lived experience. These individuals are uniquely qualified, and they're bringing cultural competency to the table. That's what this coalition is about. And I'm so proud to be able to bring my brother Eddie up. And thank you so much for all your hard work, Mr. Eddie Mars.
All right, everybody, play a little bit more. I'm gonna go back to memory lane right now. Do everybody remember this song? I mean, make you want to just, I want to try to get the juices flowing. We finna have a good time today, everybody. I want everybody to clap and just get the juices flowing, get your blood circulating a little bit. You might want to move a little bit. You might want to do a little dance and just, break it down a little bit. You want to just bring it out, Okay. I started feeling it there. Okay, thank you, brother. I almost felt that one. Woo! This coalition Rich Minds was started in 2015. It was a memory with that sister right there, Michelle, that brother right there, and then the memory of another brother, Dwayne Chapman. May he bless his soul. But we decided to keep this thing going. But we didn't know it was going to impact the community, the city, and even the state. You have what my brother said, we're uniquely qualified, live experience, and culture and competence. We go areas in Richmond that people can't go, they're scared to go. And only from the rich, if you know that you're from that area, you can go to that area. But we're here for one common goal, is that to reach to our people and give them hope. I'm a mental health professional. I've been a mental health professional for 30 plus years. Why God gave me that title, I still don't know. Sometimes I think if it's a curse, but sometimes it ends up being a future major blessing in my life. I don't have no cheat sheet. I ain't got no list. I'm speaking from my heart. And those who know me in this field, I definitely speak from my heart. I don't sugarcoat and I don't do anything. So, this coalition was developed by a spirit. It was developed from what Brother Andre said. We started at Pullman during the pandemic. I called Michelle and I called Antoine. Let's hang out. Let's just meet the people as they are. All of a sudden, we got gifts and different kind of ideas coming through, and we had 5 organizations. And then we grew to 14, and we're still together today. So, I want you to do some of the providers here, part of the coalition. When you see that individual, shake his hand. Just shake his hand and say thank you. Give him a bow, give him a pound. If we play the music again, go dance with him a little bit. But be yourself. Because this is a great, unique individuals that's in this coalition. And isn't this ironic? I'm sitting up in this auditorium. I got some DNA here somewhere. I was born and raised in Richmond. I can remember the Bay Bombers, Harlem Globetrotters. Don't y'all tell y'all age now, right? Because I know we got some youngsters, but some may jump up. Hey, I remember that. Okay, you done told your age. But I remember those times, moments, basketball games. But to be in front of your community, to even be behind this podium, it's a blessing. Think about it. It's a true blessing. Because we all know in the 80s, a lot of us was on the other side of the track. I'm not here to do no testimony because I'm a testimony in itself. We was on the other side of the track, lost. But then when God have his hand on you at the very beginning, this is what can occur. He wants you to bless others. So I'm going to introduce to some of the coalition members. We got Black Resource Parent Center. Raise your hand over there. New Life Movement. Where you at? There we go. Spirit. Where you at? Okay, I'm not. There we go. There we go. All right now. Hello. La Familia. Youth Service Bureau. Okay, you somewhere. Peacemakers. Where you at? Maybe I said this a community service. There you go. I thought there was you over there. Reset Richmond. Reset. Boy, y'all know I'm feeling a certain kind of way right now. I'm doing stuff I never thought I would do. Being well. Rubicon. West Oakland Job Center. My sister, Community Villages. And if I miss anybody, I'm so sorry. I am not myself right now. But I'm quite sure our visiting agencies, welcome. Welcome to this opportunity and join us on this journey. This don't happen by accident, y'all. It's a spirit that came upon Richmond and it's time. We've been forgotten so long and it ain't our fault. But the one thing about it, we can make a change because we are. I need a participation in this. See, I don't need no mic. I got a big mouth. We are the solution. I'm going to say it one more time. Let's do it with a little rhythm. We are the solutions. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to ask our speakers when they come up to try to speak directly into the mic. We understand that it's sort of hard to hear back in the back. So we do have a slight change in our program today. Next, we will be hearing from Miss Angela. Miss Angela, are you in the house?
Hello, my name is Angela Madaka, and I've been a Richmond resident for most of my life. I'm 43, and before Community Villages, I was a severe crystal meth addict, and it was very hard, and I was really, really bad off. But then when Tanya Jacobs from Community Villages came into my life, she helped me grow, be clean, and give me a better life. So instead of being homeless and on drugs, she helped me with resources to get me in housing, counseling, well-being, and I thank God and her and Community Villages every day. They really changed my life. And forever that I'm grateful. So I've been clean for like 5 years. But I do smoke marijuana, but that's not bad. So the other stuff, I'm off of it. So thank you, Tanya. I love you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next, we have a young lady from the city of Richmond who has done tremendous work. And if you ask the question, can anything good come out of the city of Richmond? All we have to do is turn to Miss Michelle Miley. Come on, let's give it up for Michelle Miley.
Thank you so much. I feel like we get theme music when we come up here. This is awesome. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm excited to see everyone out today. My name is Michelle Milam. I work for the City of Richmond as Crime Prevention Manager, and I'm just really happy to be here because, first of all, I'm a Richmond homegirl. Richmond is my home. I grew up in Richmond. I have family that's in Richmond, and I think we're all here because we love what we do. We love this work of community wellness, and we specifically love it all over the county, but let's give it up for West County. If West County's in the house, let's give it up for West County. Because this is ground zero, and we know it's ground zero, and it's been ground zero for some time. So I'm here today to talk about my role because I am a civilian. So that means that I work in law enforcement, but I am not a police officer. I was brought into the police department to really work on crime prevention and community issues. And when Antoine and Eddie talk about what happens, you know, I really, really want to say that truly that was an extraordinary moment. When we got the call that there was a shooting at Pullman Point, which wasn't something that was necessarily uncommon in our community, but community advocates and others responded. And they responded to the young people there. And the young people there had seen so much violence and so much trauma that they simply just kept on doing what they were doing, even though they saw a tragedy right in front of them. And it was that moment that culminized us to really kind of gather together and say, what can we do to be responsive to the needs of our community? Because it was clear from a police standpoint that we could come in, we could do our investigations, we could try to talk to the community, we could try to add additional patrol, but we can't come in and actually fix the trauma that's going on in the community. That has to be a different level of investment. And we were fortunate enough to have a gentleman, again, by the name of Dwayne Chapman, who at the time volunteered for us. He came and volunteered for the police department 20 hours a week, even when he had cancer, while he was also serving as chair of the Mental Health Commission of Contra Costa County, fighting for resources for this county and also specifically for West County. And I'll never forget what Dwayne said to me. He said, Michelle, you're in law enforcement. You all are doing the best that you can, but this needs a different level of intervention. It needs a higher level of intervention. You all cannot be and do everything. You cannot do it alone. And I think Dwayne was a prototype for what we're now looking at, which is really a service-based model where police officers and first responders, mental health first responders, are partnering. And there is also direct services from first responders to community, because community mental health is a public safety issue. It's a public health issue. And just so you can clap for that, just so you understand the perspective from the Richmond Police Department, given our staffing, we do respond, and we are the primary responders to many of the mental health calls that come in. And to be truth be told, many of the mental health calls that we respond to aren't necessarily classified as what we would call 5150 hold. We know that. But let me just say in 2020, we had 463 calls that were 5150 reports. And in 2021, going into 2022, that increased by 27%. But what I thought was very interesting is of those calls that came in that previous year, 262 of those were African American. So I'm going to use a B word. We like to talk about BIPOC, and I think that's important, but I'm going to use a B word. It's not the B word you think, it's Black. You can clap for that. It is important that we understand that in the African American community, we're disproportionately represented in terms of mental health calls for service. And we need to have systems that are set up that acknowledge and respect that, which is why I'm really glad that Supervisor Joya focused on the health equity lens that we're using as we go forward in the county. And I know our city has a health and L policies that focuses on equity as well in what we do. So what do we do? Because the second B in that statistic that I just shared with you would be a Brown, because that was 128 of those calls. That's not even counting all the calls that we get where there's a family in crisis. There's someone who's in crisis and they don't yet meet the level where we have to call the county psychiatrist. Or there's someone's in crisis and we've called the psychiatrist and they say this person actually is not ready for clinical services. They don't meet the criteria and the threshold. What do we do? And I think that's the point where the police department has to have partnerships with you and the work that you do. Making referrals. We need community-based organizations and agencies that are able to help us to respond to these calls, because we can't be there long-term, right? We go into a call for service, we'll try to offer help and assistance. We have a mental health engagement team, where we work closely with a clinician that is provided by the county, where we can go out and we can co-respond. But after that happens, there still needs to be that long-term follow-up. What happens when we have folks who are at that bottom level of crisis, where they haven't met the level where there needs to be some intervention from the police department, but we know they need the help and they're 2 steps away from here? I think that's where the work that you're doing today and the work that you do every day plays into this, because if we can get to the families, if we can come up with support systems for maybe those 20 calls for service that we get from 20 families that we know we're going to contact over and over again, and we reach out to them, we can prevent it from getting to the level where there has to be a police response. And I think that is a level that even in our discussions about how we adapt and we look at A3, those are some of the places where I think we can find some low-hanging fruit, because there are folks in this community, as we can see by the roll call that Eddie just mentioned, that are doing that work right now and that can help organize to respond. So really, I think the role of the police is something that's tough. We just talked someone out of suicide last night. We talked another person out of suicide 3 days ago. It happens all the time. But after we've made that touch, we need you. Before we make that touch, we need you. So we don't have to enter in a situation where officers might be called to have to use force and make a decision that might rob someone of their family member for the rest of their life. That's why the work that you're doing is important. That's why the work that Dwayne was doing of his life was important. And that's why we need to continue these efforts. So I encourage everyone, as you go into the breakout groups, as the work that Rich Minds is doing goes into the community, to continue the course. I know it's hard. We all are wearing multiple hats. I have crime prevention, I have homelessness, I'm trying to work with mental health. We all are doing multiple things with less resources, right? But I think working together, if everybody in the choir, as my choir director used to say, can play their part. An alto is not required to sing tenor, unless, ain't no tenors. We have everybody who we need to really make this functional and to make this work and to do some things that are new, that are innovative, and that matter. And I really appreciate you. The only thing I'm sorry about today is that Dwayne wasn't here to actually see this, but I know he's watching. So have a great day, and I look forward to what comes out of here.
All right, thank you, Michelle Milam. And Michelle, I think is that my folder there, dear? Oh, okay. At this time, the next speaker that you will hear is a young man who really needs no introduction, so I'm not going to spend valuable time to even attempt to do that. But what I will say and can say about this brother I've learned many things from him, watching him grow up here in the city of Richmond, transitioning his life from one phase to the next phase. But the one thing that I've learned from this gentleman is that availability is crucial. Will y'all repeat after me? Availability is crucial. Oh, come on now. Now we go. I know some of us go to church. Y'all know in the church house we can speak a little bit louder than that now. Repeat after me one more time, please. Availability is crucial. Now come on, folks, y'all don't do me like this. We want the world to hear this. Availability is crucial. Mr. Antoine Claude.
You know, I picked that song, Michael Jackson, for a reason. When you listen to that song, it talks about he wants the world to be, everybody to have health and wellness, that our kids have a future. I'm from Richmond, California. When I came up, we didn't have none. It was jails, institutions, and death. It was jails, institutions, and death. And when I started changing my life, I started being involved in my community. And with Michelle and the other community leaders and law enforcement, when all the change was occurring, AB 109, all the stuff in the community, ceasefire, all that, I was right at the head of it. And I started seeing things in my own community that was not there, that was not being addressed. And so I took it upon myself to get on the board. You know, John put me on this board called Alcohol and Other Drugs. And Fatima, Fatima, and she taught me so much being a part of that board and how things work. And once I learned those things, I started implementing those things in Richmond, and in a real way, real services, and how we got to navigate to it. And I sit in this committee called the CPAW committee, where that real money at, and they had $57 million. And Richmond got $850,000 of $57 million. I lost my mind in that meeting, knowing the trauma that we've been going through for 40 to 50 years through the crack epidemic. And so I came up with some new acronyms, ladies and gentlemen, so y'all can take this and write them down. It's called Hood Infected Virus. That's what our community suffers from. That causes addictive incarceration death syndrome. Ain't that what we've been going through for the last 40, 50 years? Substance abuse addiction, incarceration, mass incarceration, lack of resources, lack of education, and we form our own destruction. And that's what's been going on for 40 years. So we have to now have the solution. We have to educate our people on what trauma-informed look like and what healing looks like around trauma-induced services. And that's why we came up with this thing called the Rich Mind Network Coalition. It's a coalition of people who are culturally competent. We know that because we've been there and done that. We can meet you where you at. And so like, you know, John was talking about, other people are talking, when those calls come, we get them calls. When I get a call, I'm right there. Most of the time, I beat the police there because I live in the hood still. So that's what our community needs to see. Our community needs to see people who look like them, talk like them, but also have means to services to help them with compassion and love. And that will heal our community. But they got to know that it's real, because there's one thing about a good dope fiend. He know when you real and when you ain't. I had an old friend say, how can you lead where you know, and how can you lead where you don't go and talk about what you don't know? So when people are in these situations, they want to hear some identification. They want to hear some truth. And so what we bring as a coalition is truth. And so I thank all y'all for being here today, because now my friend Suzanne, you know, I just like to talk about, because she's a little short woman, but she's bubbly. You know, she's bubbly, right? But she cares about this community. And, you know, but she sits in the back. You would never know she was there, but she heard me. I talked long enough and loud enough where Suzanne heard me. She pulled me to the side and said, Antoine, let's talk. And that's why we're here today. And I want to thank John Joya for talk about racial equity. So when they start using these words, you got to know what them words mean. Cultural competency, racial equity, all them little words they use, they got meaning to them. If you know how to apply and adapt, adjust, and put yourself in the situation so you can touch those resources for your community. And I can articulate that now. And I just want to thank you, John, for giving me the experience to sit on the board. Fatima, for giving me the wisdom and knowledge that you have. You have a whole lot of it, and I ain't going too far from you. And I want to thank my pastor over here, Pastor Landry, Reverend Shoemake. I'm a quality of strong-minded people. I didn't just get here off osmosis, right? And I just want to thank my everybody in this room, because y'all are part of the team now. Teamwork make the dream work. And so we're going to heal West County the way it needs to be done with collaborative partnership. Thank you very much.
All right. I don't know about you all, but I'm feeling pretty good right now. So we want to keep this train rope moving. And one of the goals of the coalition was not to just give you written reports about some of the efforts that they're engaged with. They wanted you to hear and feel some real voice, right? So next real voice that we're going to hear will be none other than Miss Regina Robinson. Miss Robinson, will you come forward?
Hello, my name is Regina Robinson. I'd like to talk to you about the mental health services I have not received because treat me right. My caseworker always hangs up on me, and she just doesn't know how. She just talks very loud and very brash towards me and everything, and she's just not too respectful towards me. And then also, I've been getting a lot of help out by Glows. The lady's right here that runs it, Tiffany Powell. And I'd like to say a shout out to her because she's helped me with my mental health a great deal. Very, very much. I really care about her a lot as a person too. And also, like I said, the mental health, this back a few years back, I was trying to get back on my housing and everything like that. And the mental health worker just refused to take me, and then I got lost my housing because of that. And the place still hasn't really done nothing for me, so yeah, they haven't done nothing for me. And they've been disrespectful to me, and they've accused me of things and everything like that, and it hurts a lot to what they put me through. I would like to see better services with people being treated with more respect. Like, I'd like to get the patients' rights advocates back into working and stuff like that, because I think that made a big difference. Patients' rights advocates that were in the past they made a big difference. Like I said, they make a big difference. I think that we should, do something to get those people back in their jobs or whatever. Yes, because we need those very much. I also like to say that, I've been hurt by the mental health system so many times before that I could stand here all day and tell you how much I've been hurt by the system. But, I'm just trying to be positive now in my life at Glows and with Tiffany here. She's been a real good lady to me. I love her very much as a person. And I'd like to thank her that she's provided me with these opportunities to speak out for people. I would like to see everybody help the mental health system. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, it's my privilege and honor to introduce the next speaker. Let's give it up for Regina. Whew. Our next speaker is a member of the West Contra Costa Unified School District School Board. There are many voices on the school board, but our next speaker's voice is a relevant voice. I'm gonna say that again. There are many voices on the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board, but our next speaker is a relevant voice on that school board. Now, I'm gonna probably get a phone call about this, but I have to say it because it's real. She's real. Anyone that knows her knows that if you call her, she will make herself what? Available. And so having said all that, I want to call up my dear sister. I guess my boss, since I work for the school district, I'm sorry. None other than the wonderful, incredible Jamila Smith Folds. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamila Smith Folds. I am a school board trustee on West Contra Costa Unified School District Board. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I want to start off by saying that the school district has failed your children. The school district will continue to fail your children unless you push. You have to push. You cannot rely on the integrity of people that work for a system to take care of your children. It will not work. It has not worked. It will not work. You have to push. So I'm here today to encourage you to push the system. I'm here today to encourage you that if the system doesn't stand, it's okay. It's meant to be broken, but you have to push for what you want. The system was not built to take care of your children. If your children are black, if your children are brown, the system was not built to take care of your children. The system will continue to do what it does unless you push and you change it. So what can you do? Get to know your school board. Your school board sits at the top of the district and it tells the superintendent what to do. We are the superintendent's boss. We set that direction. The school board is elected officials. That means we work for you. You put us in place, you can take us out of place, but you have to make sure that you push for us to do what we are supposed to do, which is to serve you. The school system doesn't have policy in place to take care of your children's mental health. It is not there. We have not trained our teachers to be mental health advocates. It is not there. If you want it to be there, you have to push. Children go to school every day and they go to school in trauma. Children go to school every day and they go to school hungry. Children go to school every day and they go with the worries of adults on them. And then we expect them to pass a standardized test. It does not happen. If you want your children to be successful, we have to start taking care of your children. Your children are with us for 180 days for 13 years. We are your partner, but you have allowed us to sit and be melancholy. Please push us. Push us to do the right thing. Push us to take care of your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors. It is our job to serve you. We are only doing what you have allowed us to do. Stop allowing us to be mediocre. Stop allowing us not to do for your children. Push us to do the right thing. And if you don't get results, get us out of office. We are not in the right position. You are the ones that are in control. You are in control. You are the ones that can set the standard. Please increase that standard and make us hit that goal. We have the resources and we have the support to do it. We just need you to say, get it done. It is on you, and I am here to support you, and I'm here to be a service to you. Please reach out and call me. You call, I answer. But the school board moves by 3. We have 5 members. We move by a policy of 3. I am here letting you know publicly that I support you, but you need to get 2 other people with me. Thank you so much for all that you do. Your children deserve better, and I'm here to serve your children. I have children in the district. I hope to have grandchildren in the district one day if God gives me long life. So please make sure that we start now setting the precedent for what we want in the future. Thank you.
Well, beautiful people, as I said, a what? Relevant voice. And as Graham is preparing to come, one of the things as parents you need to be aware of, and you may not be aware of, at the start of any school year, there's a thing called sorting and selecting that goes on in the classroom. Within the first couple of days of your child being in that classroom, the teacher has determined who the VSs are, the very smart students, who the SSs are, the sort of smart students, and who the KDs are, the kind of dumbs. Oh, y'all didn't hear me. Within the first couple of days in these schools, the sorting and selecting take place. The teacher has identified who the BSs are, the very smart student. They have identified who the SSs are, the sort of smart students, and they've identified who they call and label the KDs, the kind of dumbs. This is real, and it's happening every day. And oftentimes it's unconscious. The teachers may not even realize that they're doing that. So as Ms. Smith-Foley said, you have to be engaged. You're sending them off every day. You're hoping and praying that the best is happening. But as she said, it's not happening. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So understand that. It hasn't happened yet. And so we're going to have the growth mindset in knowing that because of our engagement, we can and will make a difference. It depends on all of us. Having said that, Mr. Graham, will you please come forth? And this is someone, if you don't know, folks, you need to get to know him with being well. Incredible gentleman, a wonderful human being. And we're so happy, I'm so happy, to have an opportunity to be able to partner with Mr. Graham.
Thank you very much, Reverend Shoemake. So what we're going to do now is we are actually going to go to our breakout sessions. There are 5 breakout sessions, and on your folder should be a small number. It might be at the top corner, on the back corner. If it's not, flag us down and we'll be happy to direct you to a group. They are out in the lobby is group number 1, number 2, number 3 and 4 are over to the side here. 3's in here. I stand corrected. Thank you, Gail. And 4 and 5 are out there. So if you're not sure where to go, what we're going to do is this is your chance to tell us. This is your chance to give your input on what you feel is important. So as you walk over to your breakout session, I want you to just bear this question in mind. It's the first question you're going to ask. And it is, what does mental health mean to you? And as you ponder that, we're going to break out now. So I invite you now to stand up. If you don't know where to go, please look for one of our volunteers who will happily direct you to groups 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay? Thank you. And then we'll come back for lunch.
Okay. Now, the question I had to ask, I'm trying to see if that person is here, but apparently I will catch her later. But if somebody that I just want to give a full recognition to, are you guys having a good time? Are you having a good time? You want to know how you guys got all this together and how this thing materialized? And I see her in the lobby right there, and she's probably going to hide because she saw me coming. But I would like everybody to give an applause to Miss Gail Miller. And I'm going to do this again because she act like she didn't hear me. So when she walk in, I'm just going to say, Gail Miller. Okay? So, into our next phase of the program. You know, it's a lot of times, I don't want to sound like a preacher because I've been told I look like T.D. Jakes. I see y'all laughing because it must be true. So, but it's been times that a lot of our ancestors then prayed on us. Our moms prayed on us, our dads prayed on us, our aunties laid hands, because we all know we didn't walk a perfect life. We had our issues that we dealt with. We had our growing up pains, our personality conflicts, our different aspects of just life. We took chances. And plus, living here in the rich, I learned how to live. I learned how to be a man. And I learned how to call for help. So, we have a treat. My brother, the Reverend Andre Shoemake, is going to give us a spiritual enlightenment speech. I want you guys to listen to the words, because even though this was 20 or 30, quite a few years ago, those words still stand strong today, and it gives them a recognition of who we are as a people in all colors. This is what I'm talking about. Don't ever want to forget where we come from. But we definitely know there's nothing wrong with calling for help and to heal our community. This is what we're trying to do, is heal our community. So, Reverend Shoemake, please.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so, we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunities of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this shallow spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or taking the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now's the time. Now's the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of now. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. And those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. And there will neither be rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is guaranteed his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of this nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hate. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to generate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must take the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels and the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from one smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. And some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and the ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you, my friends, and so even though we have the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious races, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls and sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, and the rough places will be made straight, and the crooked place will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall reveal for all flesh, where all flesh can see. This is our hope, and this is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the dangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. And this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so, let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro song, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
Right on, brother. Okay, everybody, please give Mr. Andre Shoemaker another hand, please. It's always an honor not to always remember where we come from and the journeys that we are here right now, and the quest is here before us. So, remember that name I said for you guys to remember? We tried to call it. What's that name? Gail who? Ladies and gentlemen, Gail Miller over there. Please give her a hand. Our coordinator of this whole event. I'm good on throwing wrenches out there, and she could probably tell me about it later, but I appreciate her so much. And she really put her time and heart into this event, and I believe we made an impact because we have found a solution. All right? So, next phase of our program is, okay? You want to do it? No, go ahead.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. The next person that we will hear from will be our dear brother Bendrick. He's in the midst of a wonderful photo opportunity. So let's hear for our brother Bendrick. Come on forward, Doc.
Testing 1, 2. Yes. Keep it low. Here we go. I had to get fired up. I got to hear some music, y'all. Because when I'm in the community, that's how I got to be fired up to the music. You hear me? Because they around all that rap shit. They got to hear some positives around them, right? So this is how I am. So I got to hear music, y'all. Let's go. I'm ready. Yeah, I had to feel the vibe, y'all. Because I know how hard it is walking in this community, marching for our young youth. You know, because we lose a lot of their lives out here into the street. So let me start it all over. My name is Bendrick Foster, and I'm the founder of New Life Movement in Richmond, California. You know, it wasn't easy growing up in Richmond. I was one of them kids that grew up with 9 brothers and sisters right in the streets of Richmond. You know, I was raised right, praise God, faith, but the streets took a hold of my life because every day I was walking to the schoolhouse, I seen all the activities could pull you right on in. And for me, they had an IEP. That's what they call it now. Because I just learned different. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it. We just learned different. And because they didn't have anything to deal with someone like myself, so they on the first question, and I'm still working on the first question, they're already at the fifth question. So what do they do to a kid like myself when they not gonna support it? And so as soon as you got out to school, you're in a 7.5 acre park. A 7.5 acre park where you have an elementary on one end and you have a high school on the other end. And you see all these guys making money. You see all these guys making more money than the teacher. But I'm having this issue and I ain't getting dealt with. Not at all. So anytime I'm still going to school, but I'm having these issues. But they don't know how to work with a child like myself. So they leave me for dead. So I started hanging out with these same brothers was making more money than the teachers. I thought that was the easy way out. So I'm out on these streets looking at death. Like the same friend that you smoke weed with or had a drink with, the same one is in a puddle of blood. That's trauma in itself. But I had to say it's gonna be okay. Every time you walk around the street, you hear gunshots. They say it's gonna be okay. But that's in trauma in itself. Nowadays, we call it health and wellness. I'm gonna give you a little quick story, and I'm moving on up a little bit. Because I went through that trauma, I wanted to help every other student was going through the things I was going through in that same park. So I cleaned out that park and started running a program, a regular life skill program to help them kids. Because I seen so many kids escaping from the schoolhouse. And I'm asking them, why is you running from the school? Is you having a problem with your reading? You having a problem with your math? No, they was going through trauma too as well. So they seen somebody can identify what they was going through. And I started working with these kids. I'm talking about hundreds of them. I told these brothers, the same brothers got me caught up, you can't hustle in this park no more. I might have been small, but I had a big voice. You're not gonna do this what happened to me to these kids. Let them try to get their basic skills so they can still live. That meant so much to me, you know? And I started doing it for years. 8 years I was fighting in the park, mentoring to these kids. They wouldn't let us in the school at that time. They wouldn't let us in the school because we can be able to help our kids. They see some person they call trustee. We are their trustees because they see somebody that look like them. They see someone that have been through it like them. So they allowed us to identify a kid that they can help support them. So over the years, I still was having battles getting into school. But I thank God that I kept on with the vision. I thank God for this. Because now I'm in 5 schools and I'm putting other mentors to help them same kids is going through things. I can't recall who spoke it earlier. Oh, Jamila, that's my girl. One of the trustees, that's my girl, I love her. She said, we got to continue to fight. We got to continue to fight. Because if you don't fight, they ain't listening. And our baby's going to continue to lose. I understand back in the days, like I said, I made it to Kennedy, but I didn't get to finish at Kennedy. I had to learn different trades to help these kids. And what's deep in my heart right now, you know, being self-funded was very hard. Because they took a lot of the trades that kids probably don't go to college, but they got a trade so they can get a job and they don't have to go to the streets. They took it out of our schools. So I purchased my own resource centers. I purchased my own cafe for vocational training. I created my own STEM lab with my own money to just invest back in these kids so they can be successful. I'm talking about being on the ground with it. And that's why I'm so excited about this new coalition. Because you got wraparound service for all the organizations so we can support each other, right? Because we the ones that's in the streets. We the ones know them kids. They would turn their back on us, y'all. And I'm only talking from my heart right now. They told me to be me. And that's all I can be is me. I don't write anything. I tell them kids to write, but I hire people to write for me sometimes. Listen, I tell you, I'm wanting y'all to laugh on that too a little bit, but it's the truth. But I wanted to say this to y'all. I just wanted to let y'all know this. This is deep in my heart. You know, Mr. Eddie And then I'm learning Gail. Oh, Gail's something special. And just, I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100. Gail, allowing everybody to be themselves, allowing us to be ourselves so we can help our young kids in the community. And so we got to continue to fight for this fight. We got to continue to wrap around our service. We got to continue to provide services for them. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. For me, I'm gonna continue to fight when it's youth safety. And I'm gonna give y'all 2 stories before I leave, and why it was very important for me. It was a young kid, rest in peace. Give him a moment of silence. Just give me a moment of silence real fast. Because I dealt with a lot of kids that lost their life out here. Thank you. It was a kid named the name of Xavier. 14 years old. Sent home from school. Walking down this street, walking down the street down McDonald's. End up on the trail. Guess what? That kid didn't make it back to school the next day because he got killed. And one of the things that really hurt me was this. What was the service that to help them kids was going through that trauma? It was an elementary kid told me he was only 14. He didn't even get a chance to drive. That just, oh my God, I'm getting some tears because I'm thinking about it a little bit. That kid made me think about when I went through this. They said I wasn't going to make it to see 18 years old because I was in that violence and bullets going across your head every day. And then the next week later, it was a young kid named Malik. Went to the same school and he got killed. So these kids is running around with signs every day. Signs every day. Put away no service. All I can do is have my van out there and tell them it's going to be okay. That's all I can tell them. That's all I can say to them is y'all going to be okay. And I'm serious about this. These kids is losing their lives out here. And they don't have nowhere to go. So I ask y'all to please to support these services because it's going to make a difference. I'm out here for a show because if you do look up New Life Movement, I'm out here every day. And I'm going to continue to fight for y'all. And before I end today, I want to ask y'all to say, let's rise together. Let's rise together. And thank you so much.
All right, let's give another round of applause to Brother Bendry. All right, beautiful. We have a special presentation. Antoine is going to take over the mic for a moment.
Come on, y'all. Let's give yourself one more hand. Because teamwork makes the dream work. So I like all the vendors. Excuse me, vendors. Can y'all hear me? Vendors clap once. Not y'all. Vendors clap once. Vendors clap twice. So if you clap 3 times, we want the vendors to come and join the people in these areas, please. Come on. Don't get away from them tables and come engage with the community, please. All vendors come engage as we move forward into this next part of our event. Vendors, if y'all still standing, that means y'all ain't hearing me. Vendors, get off your tables and come join the community that you have to serve. Thank you very much. So listen, as we move forward, we have this portion when we talk about real talk. Just say real talk. Real talk. I think I'm going to go to church now on here, Reverend. Can I get an amen? Real talk. Real talk. Man, y'all ain't glad to live across the street. We got over 100 people. Come on, one more time, y'all. Real talk. Real talk. So listen, I got a family here. We talk about real talk and how services are supposed to go. And when a family calls for help. Gail is, now I tell y'all, don't make Gail get up. I'm trying to save y'all. Can all vendors come and join us? Come on, vendors, don't be scared. Come on, y'all, get the vendors ahead. Come on, y'all, make them come up. Get the vendors ahead as they make it toward the front. Okay, so listen. I met this family a long time ago, and you know how you be in the community, you know other parts of their family, but you know them individually, but you don't know them collectively. Y'all know that. You know, some on the south side, some on the East Hill, some in El Cerrito. They're giving the borderline El Cerrito. But at the end of the day, you still family. But I'm not going to tell this story because I want you to hear from them and how they feel and how their loved ones were able to get service, and also them to get services to help them with their issues around their loved ones, okay? So you're going to hear a letter read from a sister named Kendra that's real Richmond. Say, real Richmond. Because she worked here for many years with our youth under the Richmond Youth Bill. Okay? So I'm going to go. Who's up first? You want to read the letter first? Oh, you raised your hand first. You must be the baby sister. I tell y'all, family hierarchy. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Graggs Johnson, and I am reading a letter from my sister, Kendra, who couldn't be here with us physically because she lives in Texas, but she's here with the family in spirit. Good morning, good afternoon. As I pondered, processed, and even agonized over what I could say to this audience about the roller coaster ride of emotions that have plagued, paralyzed, and caused sleepless nights, coupled with elevated stress and intermittent anxiety, I vacillated over a delivery that would demonstrate diplomacy, tact, conservatism, versus one that was full of erratic emotion. When Antoine Cloret, one of the co-founders of Richmond Minds Network Coalition, told me that there would be an opportunity for my family to talk about the mental health system from the perspective of lived experience in Contra Costa County, my knee-jerk initial reaction was, should I tell the truth? How can I utilize this platform to express my truth? Speaking my truth out loud, I wonder how many other families are struggling with receiving prompt services in Contra Costa County while trying to navigate the broken system. If it were not for the personal and professional relationship with Antoine Cloret, the results and delivery of care for my brother would be nearly non-existent. Our family needed quick access that would not place my brother Kwanzaa in detrimental circumstances due to his recent relapse, which could have been avoided if the system had the adequate and necessary resources in place, such as funding that pays organizations and works in collaboration with the county to support and strengthen a system that needs more providers, which expands access to delivery of direct services. Currently managing complex high caseloads that yield an unproductive practitioner to patient ratio perpetuates a broken system that burns out practitioners that cannot provide long-term quality care. And so the vicious cycle continues. The current options are: one, take a chance that someone who is in crisis can get an emergency assessment at a clinic in a timely manner, or hope that a mobile response team is staffed and available during regular business hours. Two, call 211. Three, be 5150, or four, arrested by the local police department that may be trained to not kill an individual that presents with questionable behavior. In closing, I would like to thank Antoine Cloret with Richmond Minds Network Coalition for the consultation, coaching, and mentorship that he provided not only to my brother Kwanzaa, but to our extended family that is present today. After the mental health forum, one last sentence, I'm sorry. After the mental health forum convenes, what will the call to action be? Contra Costa County can no longer perpetuate lip service or bureaucracy, which in the end serves no one. Thank you, Kendra Graggs Muhammad.
Sarcastically, friends, foes, countrymen, and families, also vendors. Lend me your ear. First of all, I am thankful for all the organizations in the house today. If you notice, many are faith based, and all I can say is keep God first. First of all, I will not apologize for my passion. My name is Doris Holland, and I am the aunt and part of the village of Kwanzaa Graggs. When I asked Antoine what I should speak about today, he stated, "Tell about your experiences with me and let it flow." I'm in agreement with Lady Gaga. I'm not here to be perfect, I'm here to be real. As I attempt to draw a picture for you today, I will be using a few quotes from various people, past and present. I use them because I like poetry, and I use them because they are still relevant today. Toward the end of November, our family was in an emotional storm. Kwanzaa was in a legal and mental health storm. We needed legal, medical, and mental health assistance. We met and brainstormed avenues we could take. We didn't know if we were going down the right street or if we were headed down an embankment. We needed help. What we didn't know was that we needed legal advice, and we needed our loved one back on his medication so that he could resume functioning in society. We didn't know who to call on but God. Maya Angelou says, "Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud." Our family was in a storm, and God put a rainbow in the sky. And at the end of the rainbow was Antoine. We all know it's not what you know, it's who you know. Due to the connections and the relationship my niece Kendra, Kwanzaa's sister, had, we were introduced to Antoine. Antoine had what we didn't have, connections. He had access to legal, medical, and mental health resources. Antoine attended a family meeting. During that late night meeting, Kwanzaa gave a history of his life, which gave Antoine an idea of which resources he needed. Antoine drew on his past experiences to relate to Kwanzaa, keep him focused, and build trust between the two. When we left late that night, we had a full plan to follow, which included mental health, medical, and legal resources. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. Unknown author. Had it not been for Antoine and my nephew would have been in and out and about like so many others, on the streets or with drugs and medical and mental issues. These people are incarcerated, they're homeless, and just lost. The way you get started is to stop talking and begin doing something. The following day, Antoine started doing something. He took Kwanzaa. He did refer him, but he took him to get medication. As we expected, he needed to be reevaluated, which would take 4 to 6 weeks. Not with Antoine. He had an appointment within a matter of days. He also obtained a medical appointment and reference to employment. Again, Antoine, he took. He took him to the appointments. For the most of the John Does on the streets are incarcerated without connections or family support and journey. The journey could be completely different. I've been retired for 11 years after 50 years in the educational system. For the last 11 years of retirement, I've worked at some capacity in the schools. One job I do is a principal's coach. One of the first things I tell the principals is, this job is about 3 things. It's about building relationships, it's about communication, it's about bullshit. If you can't do all 3, you won't make it in this society. Winston Churchill stated, "Success is not final. Failure is not final. It is the courage to continue that counts." In order to reach some of the mental health and social issues, you need a team approach. No one person or group or organization can do it all. What we received from Antoine and Rich Minds Coalition was access to services. When you have someone in crisis, you don't need to jump hoops. You don't need hoops to jump through or nor rhetoric. We received legal advice and connections. We needed someone who knew who to talk to, what questions to ask, and a better idea than what we had. What I watched during our family meeting was a person with a listening spirit, a willingness to accept the person where they were, and I guarantee you it was wild and all over the place. I watched Antoine build a relationship, get buy in from a person who was not on board and resisted at the time. I watched Antoine do magic in a few hours. When we left that night, Antoine emotionally had wrapped Kwanzaa in his arms like a mother with her brand new baby. He walked every step of the way with Kwanzaa and with our family. Today, our family wholeheartedly supports Antoine and the Rich Mind Coalition. Maya Angelou stated, "You shouldn't go through life with catcher's mitts on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back." Antoine is trying to throw something back in our community. Years of relationships with people of the Richmond community, communicate with those he supports and loves and passion from his heart. Mahatma Gandhi states, "Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony." We be the changes you want in this world. The people in the room are the change makers. Take your part in making the changes. Love all, trust a few, but do not do harm to anyone. If you can dream it, you can do it. Walt Disney. Thanks for being my listening ear. And a side note is it starts when we all know in the home. But from the home, some homes are not as nurturing as other homes. Then the children go to school. We need to start, as Jamila said, if you are not in that school, you don't know what's happening to your kids. What you expect to happen, what you think to happen, may not be what's happening. You are your child's first advocate. You're your child's first teacher. And when you say you, that means everybody. Last year, I worked for a year as principal of Hercules High School. And one of the kids told the supervisor, "Well, Mrs. Holland act like she's your mama and your grandmama." And I told them, "I am your mama and your grandmama when I'm on this campus. And you gonna listen to me like I'm your mama and your grandmama." We have to protect all our kids because their illnesses are hindering everybody. It just does not touch you or your home, it touches everyone. So that's why I have the passion. That's why I'm 73 years old and still working. It should have been at home someplace 11 years ago because I'm trying to save your kids, your grandkids. So thank you very much.
I'm Dr. Patricia Nunley. I'm Kwanzaa's aunt, and as well as Kandra's aunt. And I say ditto to my nieces, and I ditto to my sister. And I would like to say that I met Antoine on a social basis through Kandra. And when I met him, I felt like he was a pretty cool guy. He had a lot of good ideas and intervention strategies, and I appreciate that. But later on through the journey of my nephew's life, I began to realize that Antoine was more than just a cool guy. He's an advocate, and he's a whole lot of things that a lot of people are not willing to do. And what I really was impressed with Antoine, not only did he have his ideas, he put them into purpose. And what he did, as my sister first stated, he took my nephew. He took him to where he needed to go. He didn't just talk it and hand him over to someone else. He put my nephew in his chest, and he carried him like a child. And I really appreciated that. And what I would say to you, Antoine, God bless Antoine, God used Antoine, and to God be the glory for the things that he has done.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is call me KG. My name is Kwanzaa Graggs. This is my lovely family sitting right here. And I just want to give a quick, I guess you could say, testimony about Brother Antoine. That the gentleman came up to me and started immediately getting things done. In about, say, roughly 2 months, that a lot of the case management where I've been living for about, say, 20 years, couldn't really get done in 2 years. It was unfortunate, but I just wanted to say, not as a poster child or something of what's going on in Richmond in general, being that it's a war of attrition out here. But what I'm gonna say is, one, don't blame victims out here. It's people that are sleeping on the ground. It's people that are not getting the proper medicative assistive treatment out here. It's also a lot of folks that just don't know where to go. And ignorance isn't an enemy anymore. It's unfortunately, awareness is something that's going to make sure we don't hurt one another out here. We're not doing things that are rubbing the neighbors the wrong way in out here. But lastly, I just want to say that I care about my family. I care about Mr. Clorid. He basically, like the family said, took me. He's a mentor to me, but he also got a lot done that I wasn't going to get done by myself. I wasn't going to listen to reason. I have to make sure that there's resources out here that can give us a sense of we're not alone. One, two, we have to be more resourceful. We have to be more confident. I've been working for a company called Crossroads Building Services Diversified Inc. Over here at the 1221 Nevin building for about closer to 15 years. Worked for KCRT doing this similar kind of work. Done a lot, but what I haven't done is battle this bout with emotions day to day. Haven't battled things like just saying to my family, look, I love you. I've been on my own for 20 years. I've also been down the street and around the corner, and I've seen people that don't want to be necessarily in predicaments that we all end up in, whether we want to or not. But lastly, before I figure out who to pass this mic to, it's just a matter of being prayerful, being, like I said, confident, more resourceful, realizing that we have a say so in how we're going to basically move on in life and get some kind of closure in everything that's holding us back, and making sure that we when these doors open up and somebody like a mentor comes up to you and tells you, look, I'm gonna get this done, don't worry about it, then see what they can get done. And it's kind of a lo and behold thing to whereas things started happening, and I want to get in the right track as far as making sure that I shake some hands and kiss some babies and try to walk in the same footsteps as this gentleman right here. But anywho,
Come on, y'all. Let's give Kwanzaa a hand. That's why it's called Speak Your Truth. But it's the truth that I'm going to share before I turn this mic over that you really need to know. Kwanzaa held a job down for 14 years. He lost his job because they took him off his medication. And he downward spiraled. And when Kendra called me and told me about her brother, now Kendra, my partner, she when she was at Richmond Bill, Youth Bill, that was my girl when I built my other organization here. And she was like, my family needs. I said, Kendra, where they at? And I met Donnie, and like I said, I met him all in different, arenas. But when your friend calls you, it's a difference when your friend calls you and say, I need some help. What are you going to do? Availability is crucial. That's what I live by those words I tell you. You call me, I'm on my way. I'm like 911. And it was like that for me with her, because I love Kendra. And I love his family now. Especially, I love Pops. Pops different. but I love you, man. I just met you, but I love you, bro. Trust me, you all right. But, you know, moving forward, this is how it works. I've been clean 20 years, and I got clean because when I raised my hand to get me some help, somebody was there to help me. Somebody helped me. I didn't just get here by osmosis. Boy, my feet is still hurting. My feet, boy, right now, my feet ain't on my feet right now because my feet hurt. Right now. But I'm saying that to say that availability is crucial when our community says, I need some help. But now what kind of help are you going to give me? Is it help I kind of want? Is the kind of help you want to give me? Because what you think is good for me ain't what I want. So like I said, I had to hear Kwanzaa, and it was funny how, you know, when all the family was there and Kwanzaa went on one, I just sit back. And I repeated what he said. And he said to me, oh, you got it. Yeah, I sure did, because I'm just like you. And we moved on from there. So I'm going to move forward and let Gail go ahead, and I thank you. I tell you, when she comes, she's a regulator.
Thank you, family, for your willingness to share your story. That's not an easy thing to do. A lot of people don't, and they keep it inside. Today, you may have saved a life. So keep that in mind. And each and every time you tell the story, you never know. You may have saved a life. So we thank you. We're going to, first of all, I want everybody to stand up because this has been a long morning. I'm bringing it up now? Okay. Stand up, stretch. And I know Antoine asked for all the vendors. Stop what you're doing. You're going to want to hear the last half of this program. So I'm going to ask that you shut your tables down for now. Move forward. Find a table up here to sit. You're not going to want to miss Suzanne Tavano or Mr. Al Gilbert or our next real voice. And also we've got the results from the breakout session. So that's real solutions coming out at you in real time. And we also have a survey that we need you all to fill out. It's super important for us to have that information so we can continue to have these forums. And we don't want to lose any of you, so we want to keep it rolling. Once again, if you are tabling, come to the front. Stop tabling. Stop talking to folks. There'll be time after. Promise. And now to Mrs.
Thank you, Gail. And let's give a big round of applause for all our families that came out to speak today. As it takes a lot of courage to come share your own personal stories. So as Gail mentioned, in each of your package, there is a survey. So please, sir, please, ma'am, we'd love for you to fill out the survey before you leave. We need your feedback. We are in the process of wrapping this up. And also, as Gail mentioned, we have two dynamic speakers that's coming before us today. As we move forward with this work, I'm mindful of one of the lines in Martin Luther King's speech where he said, we cannot walk alone. We cannot do this work alone. So we need these community organizations working in partnership with the county. The county can't do it all by themselves. These community organizations can't do it all by themselves, but together, collectively, we can bring about change. And so we want you to hang on just a little while longer. We have Dr. Suzanne Tavano, who folks you really want to hear from. If you haven't heard her speak before, stay tuned. And I'm hoping you can fasten your seatbelts because we might hit a little turbulence. Also, we're going to have our keynote speaker, Al Gilbert. And again, those two speakers are going to explain to us and share with us how we can tie all this in together. So hang in there with us just a little while longer, and Antoine going to jump on me if I don't mention the fact we got a 75-inch TV that we're going to be raffling off. And if you guys don't want it, I'll take it home. So hang in there. We're going to be raffling that TV off also. Now I want to turn it over to Linda Stafford and Tanya Jacobs.
All right, we have had such a powerful time today. Can you feel all the power in this room? Look around at each other and say, power! Do y'all feel it? Let's do it one more time. Power! There was power even in the sessions. My name is Linda Stafford. I have a table back there. I work for Community Services Bureau. We have a lot of different opportunities, and I'm going to let Tanya introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming and thank you for your participation. My name is Tanya Jacobs. I'm the executive director and the founder of Community Villages. We're back there located on the left-hand side. But we had an opportunity to listen to you all in your breakout sessions today. And it was exciting to hear your feedback and just a dialogue around the solutions to the problem that we have identified around mental health. So we're going to take a few moments today of your time and we're going to reflect a little bit on the dialogues that we heard that came up with some solutions. So we'll be short, brief, but we're hoping that this is only a short period of time that we have this conversation, but we're hoping that we can continue this conversation outside of today's dialogue. So we came up with the questions. Every breakout session had different questions. One of the first questions was, what are potential hurdles that may impact your access to mental health resources? I'm not going to read up every one of them piece by piece, but I'll go over some of them, and they're highlighted in bold. Some of the responses was navigation of the system, a timeliness in receiving needed appointments. Some people felt like having access to appointments, they don't get it right away. It takes too long. So we want to look at how can we address that. We came up with mental health awareness. That was a theme across the board for some. Being aware of mental health, identifying what mental health is. So having that dialogue a little bit more in the community about mental health awareness. What is it? Then we came across, I'm going to mention preventions, the need for accurate data so all people are counted. Data. Those that are providers understand what the data means when we're reporting, but in reality is if we're not able to access the data, then how can we accurately share and address the issues? So some of the people said one of the issues was not having the information of data being reported. Then we came up with the need for ethical and competent service providers, people that look like us and know our community. We have seen over a period of time that there are providers of many different races and different cultural backgrounds, but people are hoping to see a little bit more people that look like them, sound like them, and able to access their needs from their experiences. One of the next questions is, from a breakout group, do you have access to mental health services to provide a good quality of life? It seems scarce right here, but there were no answers. There were no answers there. So we wanted to hear a little bit more about what does it mean to have access to mental health services to have a good quality of life. And in my experiences of walking around, just not written on paper, but people are saying they don't even know what a good quality of life is. The past 2 years, it changed their perspective of what a good quality of life was like. Even as a provider, it changed their perspective. Providers needed support. So again, and it changed their quality of life. It changed the way they access services. The therapist needed a therapist, and the therapist still need a therapist. So again, we still want to leave that question up there. We want you to take that away with you today. Take a moment and think about, what do you need to have access to mental health services to provide a good quality of life? So as you leave away today, ponder away and think about, what do you need to have a good quality of life? The next one was, how does a lack of mental health services affect community safety? When we think about safety, sometimes we only think about the physical safety. We don't think about the emotional safety of people. And we often take that as a disconnect. And we think about, what is safety? Not only does the police provide our safety, but as a parent provides safety in their home. As a teacher, you provide safety in the school systems. And as a community provider, when people come to us, we want to provide safety to them. So let's look at some of the responses. One of them that stood out, lack of mental health services. How does that affect community safety? It leads to homelessness, being unsheltered and untreated. Youth safety issues. Example, some youth are nervous to walk into school. At one point in time, being able to get back and forth to school, it used to be an easy walk to school. But kids are not even feeling safe anymore. We have youth over here in the building, and again, they still trying to figure out what does that look like. Again, 2 years of their life was taken away, and so regrouping back into the community now, it looks different. So how do we have that access to safety for the kids, even getting to school, being in schools? Loss of empathy. They're numb to trauma because it's the norm. It's the norm to say the trauma that I'm experiencing is okay. That it's okay for me to feel like I'm feeling, but again, they're not addressing these issues. We're lacking the attentiveness to come and connect with the abnormal, and we have made the abnormal normal. We're normalizing these issues. We're continuing to take on these perspectives and normalize it. And I'm not quite sure if that's okay, but again, everyone have their own experiences and their own journey. But looking at what are we normalizing now? Are we normalizing behaviors that are adding to our quality of life, or is it taking away from our quality of life? Then we look at negative outcomes during crisis responses. We have crisis providers in the room. We have mental health providers in the room. We have primary care providers in the room, and we have people in the room. Having that response time and a lack of disconnect, it takes a toll on how you're gonna go forward and have a little hope to go to your next crisis without support. One of my participants said one time, I'd rather have an experience by myself than to go through it with some people who don't even understand me. And so for people to be in a crisis and desire to go through it alone, that makes us questionable at times. Are we still providing the services that the people deserve? So if I'm in a crisis, I'm supposed to be able to call and trust in you. I don't have that trust anymore, someone once said to me. I don't have that trust in the system. And being a part of a system of care, who do you turn to? What happens next? Last but not least, Linda?
All right, so one of the things that came up repeatedly was that issue of trust that came up over and over again. How do we have access, and do we trust the people that we're talking to? So the next question says, what are the stigmas associated with the term mental health? How can we reframe this? Some of the things that jumped out, and what you will see is the bold ones came up repeatedly. Right? So these were ones that stood out. Cultural biases against mental health supports. And that can be coming from the agency, or it can also be coming from us, that we have biases within our culture about what mental health means, that stigma. Encouraging, supporting youth to get support, that it's okay to go ask for help. And we'll see the youth theme come up repeatedly as well. There is obvious concern for the next generation. And if we don't get our things together, what will the next generation look like? If you are here because you want to support each other, let me see your hands go up. We're all here for support, because that next generation is so important. I would say hallelujah. Okay, so do not recognize the need in youth. Once again, that came up again. Sometimes am I looking at the youth saying, oh, this is just a phase. Oh, they just going through it. Oh, it'll be different tomorrow. Or are they really crying out for help? And how are we providing that support? Am I supposed to wrap it up? Okay, not a one-time thing. Can we say it's a journey? Can we be on this journey together? All right, our last question was, what does trauma look like in the community, and how is trauma being addressed? The two ones that jumped out, adults do not recognize, once again, the trauma impacting young people. And that if you're going through trauma and they're with you, they're also experiencing it, but they might not have the language to express it like an adult does. The last one is daily exposure to trauma. They do not see it until they are out of the situation, which goes back to, are we numb to it? Have we seen things so many times that it does not wrench our hearts anymore? Or do we need to go in there and massage our hearts so we can still feel each other? Amen. All right. So we wanted to just quickly say that there was so much that came out, and we want to be solution minded. So as issues come up, we also want to say, what can be a solution? What can we do? And one of the things that came up was programs to support education of service providers for people within the community who are interested in going down this direction. And one of the things that we all know is that a lot of times people are more apt to go to their preacher or their teacher who may not necessarily be trained in mental health. And so how do we give access to people who want to step in and support those in the community? All right, so we thank you so much for the breakout. And we are going to close out. Can we say it's not a period, it's just a to be continued? To be continued.
All right, let's give it up for the dynamic duo. Thank you, ladies. All right. So now it's my privilege and honor to bring up our next speaker for the day. And going back to that partnership thing I was talking about, how, we can't walk alone. As community groups and organizations, we need the county. And we need to develop those partnerships with the county. So last, but well, maybe not last, but we have a very distinguished individual from Contra Costa County. Her name is Dr. Suzanne Tavano. Yeah, let's give a big round of applause for her. Suzanne, she's the director of the Behavioral Health Services Division. Dr. Tavano previously served 18 years. I'm sorry. It's late. I haven't had my coffee. She served 18 years with Contra Costa Health Services, filling a variety of clinical and administrative positions, including acting mental health director before leaving Contra Costa for the other opportunities in 2012. She joined CCHS after stints as behavioral health director in Marin and Santa Cruz counties, and as past president of the California Behavioral Health Directors Association. So folks, give it up one more time for Dr. Tavano.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me. And I think that introduction was probably longer than what I'm actually going to speak to. But thank you so much. I think he's going to help me out. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much. We're just so appreciative of being invited to be here today with you. It's really important. It was a really, really meaningful day. So thank you. And then I'm looking at my friend Antoine. So I knew of Antoine, but I'd never had really met Antoine before. And then I met him at an AOD advisory committee meeting. And the first thing he said is, give me your number. I said, okay. And then I started hearing from Antoine. Now, he's been known to refer to me as a gangsta. And quite honestly, I take that as a compliment from coming from him, and hope to live up to that name. So want to thank that. And then also Antoine then connected me with Eddie, and have to say, Eddie, the first couple of times I was in meetings with him, it was on Zoom, and he was actually driving his car while he was speaking. So really good to see people in person and this all coming together. A really important day. Really so much to think about and reflect on. People who know me know I get a little teary-eyed at times. Hearing people's lived experiences, the challenges, the failures of our systems, hopefully some successes of our systems. But, the personal voice, the personal experience is what's really at the heart of everything. And it's what I and all of us, I know my team is here, we need to hear the voices and then not just listen, but start acting. And so I really want to make that commitment to all of you that we have a lot of work to do. I know we do a lot. I know we help a lot of people, but I also know that we can do more, we could do better. What I would say also is that we could do differently, because a lot of the things that we offer as supports make sense for a lot of people, but not all people. So how do we start doing what's meaningful to people, all people? And, I know this discussion's been going on a lot in different places, but the difference between equality and equity. And I can say that we equally provide all of these services, but can I say that we do it with equity? And I think that's where we fall down a bit. We do a lot, but are we doing the right thing for each individual? So that's where we need to go. I would also say that we hear it. When people say, I need something, they need it then. They don't need it in 3 weeks or 3 months from now. It's now. And when people say, I need support, I need help, we shouldn't spend a lot of time in what I call bureaucratic stuff, meaning filling out a lot of forms and writing a lot of papers and following a lot of rules and regulations that the state gives us. But when the person walks through the door, we should start saying, how can we help? What do you need? How can we meet those needs? Now, I say that it's a big system, it's a big culture. I'm committed to it, we're committed to it, but it will take time to change. It's not going to be overnight. And being here with all of you is a really important part of that, because if we don't hear from everyone in the community directly, we go with our old assumptions, and we want to get rid of our old assumptions. The other thing I just want to mention again, so appreciative of people who have been talking, really from their lived voices. And, what I would say for myself, 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I know for a long time, I didn't talk about it. And then I realized I felt like I was keeping a secret. And why was I keeping it a secret? Well, I had to think about that. It was because I felt like it made me appear weak, or something was wrong with me and people were going to treat me differently, and I would lose sort of my status in the professional world, all of that kind of stuff. It was a secret. It was a dark secret. And when you keep a secret, it's because you feel like people shouldn't know, and that doesn't help. And so I really had to come to get myself to think of it in terms of cancer is a health condition. You have to be able to talk about your health conditions. Mental well-being is a health condition. We need to be able to talk about our mental well-being. It's all health. We need to come out and speak to it. It's the way we get over prejudice, stigma, discrimination, etc. So I so appreciate what you all have been doing here today in speaking your truth. I was at table 1. I'm looking around, table 1 people out there. It was really valuable to me. Over the years, I hear things, they stick in my head, but it's really good to slow down and hear them real time again, because all those things that were listed earlier, what's happening to youth, even when they're walking to school? What are they experiencing? Are they experiencing some level of trauma? Are they then starting to become so immune to it that it's like the norm, and then they have to step away to realize, no, this is not normal? And then, all of us as caregivers, I think we tend to look at our kids, and if they're misbehaving, oh, it's bad behavior. But sometimes we just have to pause and maybe they really need something, so they're going to do better and move forward. So again, all of the things that were listed from the breakout session, absolutely so important. So, people who deal with Medi-Cal know that Medi-Cal has all these rules and regulations, and they get in the way. They create barriers to supports and what people need. Fortunately, this year we have the opportunity to get away from that. But again, it's going to be a culture shift. It's like undoing a lot of years of compliance, do this, do that, which has not been in the service of the person. It's really been in the service of the system and the regulations. So we now have the opportunity to change that. And, the people should be able to walk in any provider's door and get what they, first of all, get in the door timely, and then get what they need. And if someone walks in the door of someone who holds himself out as a person helping with substance use issues, if the person also has some mental health issue that they want to deal with, they shouldn't be told, oh, don't come here, go there. And the opposite is true too, because for years, people would walk in for mental health supports, And then it would become clear that there were substance use issues. And then it would be, oh, go deal with your substance use issues before we can give you your mental health supports. It doesn't make any sense. We're whole people that have all these complex things going on at the same time. So how do we move our system so that we really embrace that and then act accordingly? So have a lot of work to do, but we're committed to do it. I'm looking around again, many of our staffs here, our medical director, our chiefs are here because they all want to hear directly from you. So thank you so much. It's been so wonderful. And I guess where I would end is, since we just took this week to celebrate Martin Luther King, I will never, ever have the brilliance or eloquence of him, but I do embrace his teachings. And so the one that I was thinking about on Monday, and I wrote out to all of the behavioral health staff, is I'm not gonna quote, but I'll paraphrase a little bit, but it's really the one about speak up, speak out. There's no such thing as neutrality when the quest is to address equality, justice, and inclusion. And how do we include everyone? So I will end on that note. Would love to spend more time with all of you. I really thank Antoine for saying, come and talk to us. And I said, invite us and we'll come, because we don't want to intrude on anybody's house, but we always love being invited to somebody's house. So again, thank you all so much. Look forward to seeing you more in the future, and your words have registered. So thank you so much.
All right, let's hear it for Suzanne one more time. Woo! All right. All right, we're moving forward. We're going to have Antoine come up in a minute after our next speaker, going to tell us about how we're going to get his big old beautiful TV away. We're going to let him lead us in that process. So the next gentleman that's coming before us is from the hood. His parents had a 6th grade education, but a PhD in love. I'll say that again. His parents had a 6th grade education, but a PhD in love. And as a result of that love, we have coming up, the next voice that you will hear will be that of Mr. Hank Roberts, who is the president and founder of Peacemakers. Mr. Roberts.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. And I know that as you reflect back on your time here, you've been hearing real voices, and real voices is really not a fabric of someone's imagination. It's not really a fantasy. It's not a make-believe. The real voice is the truth. And so when you bring real voice and you bring real history together, you have a real understanding of what's really going on. So Hank, you telling us what's really going on. What really is going on? Well, let me start by just sharing with you something real quickly that you probably didn't know. In 1954, Brown versus Board. And there was a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm, because now we could go to the public schools. Now, before we were able to get into those public schools, we had our own schools. We had black principals, black administrators, black teachers, black therapists. Our children thrived. Our children were off the chain in academic performance, no suspensions. Attendance was so unreal. And black history was taught. So in 1954, we decided that it was time for us to get a lot more opportunities to do even better. So Brown versus Board, and we won. Excitement, enthusiasm, but Rip Van Winkle set in. We went to sleep because in 2 years, listen to me, in 2 years, all the black teachers, all the black administrators, all the black school psychologists either quit, were threatened, or demoted. So in 2 years, all of a sudden, 90% of the teachers were white. 90% of the counselors were white. 90% of the administrators were white. And then all of a sudden, this whole ideology of something called an achievement gap all of a sudden came to the surface. So what is the achievement gap? The achievement gap really simply means that our black children at the rock bottom in academics, the highest in suspensions, and some of the worst attendance you could ever believe. That's what the achievement gap was. And so when you talk about that, I wonder what's really going on in 2023. And Bendrick gave you a snapshot of his life, which gives us an idea of what's really going on in 2023. But before we even talk about 2023, I want you to stay with me because I'm going to share something with you that I've never seen. And if you've seen this that I'm going to share with you, let me know. But I've never seen an alligator teach a dolphin how to swim. Have you? I've never seen an alligator teach a dolphin how to swim. Have you? I mean, I've never seen a lion teach an elephant how to hunt. Maybe I'm just an imagination. And I really have never, ever seen an eagle teach a chicken how to fly. And Malcolm X reminded us when he said, "He who teaches your child determines their future." And I'm wondering if these creatures was listening to Malcolm X. And so as we begin to turn the page to talk about 2023, I guess you say, well, Hank, what's different in 2023? And I have to sadly say to you that in 2023, 90% of the teachers are still white. And 90% of the administrators, and 90% of the school counselors are still white. And it shouldn't surprise you when I say that the achievement gap is getting wider and wider. And so when you think about what I'm saying, maybe that alligator, maybe that eagle, maybe that lion is telling us something. Maybe they're telling us that it's time for us to begin to teach our children. And so that's why the Health and Wellness Coalition has come together. Because we recognize, as those creatures did, that it's our time to begin to teach our children. And I'm going to end this by saying a couple of closing statements that I hope stay with you. But to go where you've never been, you got to do what you've never done. You have to do what you've never done. And lastly, the lion, the alligator. Listen to me, the lion, the alligator, and eagle has taught us that if we don't do it, it'll never get done. Thank you.
All right, folks, this is wrapping it up. Let's give it up for Mr. Hank Roberts one more time. So now, back in the day, they used to say you saved the best for last. But now I don't want to insult anybody by saying that, so maybe I won't say that. Our last speaker is a gentleman by the name of Al Gilbert, President and Chief Executive Officer of Felton, the Felton Institute. If you look in your package, you will find his brief, well, I don't know if it's brief, but a wonderful bio of Mr. Felton. And so I want to encourage you to take a look and read that when you can. Felton Institute in Strategic Design, Organizational Management, and Mission Implementation, directing Felton services across 5 corporate divisions in addition to his wholly owned data management subsidiary, Circle. His leadership enables provision of behavioral health services to more than 80,000 individuals annually. I'm going to say that again. 80,000 individuals annually. And just to wrap it up, during his tenure as CEO at Felton, it has grown its budget from $17 million to over $40 million annually. This brother, that organization know what they're doing. Become internationally recognized for its service models and contributed research publications to the mental health community. Al Gilbert, deemed an innovator and thought leader within the industry, promotes rigorous, evidence-informed, and culturally grounded service orientation. Is Mr. Gilbert in the house? Is Mr. Gilbert in the house, y'all? Come on down, Mr. Gilbert. Let's give it up for Mr. Al Gilbert.
So I don't know how this is going to work. I think I'm going to hold it because I get excited sometimes and start moving around. So I might do that. And I'm kind of overwhelmed because of all the beautiful and powerful, committed people who spoke today and who are doing this important work. To even think that you'd be acting like I'm the keynote or I'm the person who's got something to say. So I'm not as smart as many of the people here. And that helps me in some ways because I recognize my limitations. And at the same time, though, I too have a dream. Wasn't that a beautiful reading that the Rev did earlier? Wow. I like the fact that he just owned it. He just did it. Like it was his to do. And I was like, wow. So I am an emotional person, so forgive me if that shows up at times. I appreciate that. So thank you, Rich Minds. Thank you, Graham. Go ahead. She's going to get the charger for the slideshow. Okay. Okay. She's going to get the charger for the slideshow because the charger went bad. Okay. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, all of the partners in Richmond, for inviting us to play with you in this important work. I'm hoping that we're working on the commitment now for us to be the fiscal sponsor for Rich Minds. And so while they wait for the charger, before we start throwing the slides, so I grew up in Cleveland, and it was a while ago during the riots, and everything around us was burned down, and the police surrounded the ghetto. And matter of fact, they even shot holes through my jersey because I used to run track. And I turned a corner and they opened fire on me. So the blessing is that I didn't get seriously injured. I cried. I was shocked. I was running for my life. So when I grew up, there was Black Enterprise and Earl Graves' magazine. And I used to read it, and I used to wish that I could meet this brother, because if I could show him how incredible I was, and how driven I was, then my life would be like all of that, because I could show him who I really am. And that never happened. So I continued to work in environments throughout my career that weren't really supportive of me, and didn't have a vision for my success. So I just created my own, and created my own path to success. So So I'm going to share some slides about what we've been able to do at Felton Institute, which used to be Family Service Agency in San Francisco. And it's now 133 years old. We changed the name about 12 years ago to Felton Institute because there's a lot of family service agencies throughout California. There's all kinds, and we're all different. And I had a vision for what we wanted to do that didn't match the name. So we chose Felton Institute. Felton Institute, and the word institute for a reason. My background is I went to Ohio State, and my parents said they couldn't pay for college, so I ended up getting scholarships, sports scholarships to go to the Ohio State. And then I went to grad school at Indiana, and again, it was the time of integration. So I was the first in the honors program. I was the first Black to do . And then I came out here to California to escape the Midwest. And I don't think that people out here appreciate how blessed you are to be on the West Coast. I'm just saying. Okay. Still waiting for the slides. So when we came out here, we've had a number of our own businesses, and we've started over 20 businesses, and that's my wife and I. Let me tell you about her real fast, because we just celebrated our 50th year together this year. And she said, I do, to me. And so I've spent my entire life trying to say thank you to her. So that means that we have fresh flowers in the house every day, that we live in a beautiful place, and she grew up very, very poor, so she doesn't need any of that, but she deserves so much more. So I do that. The reason why that's important is that being the emotional person that I am, that's the way I treat the people who work for me as well. So there's an opportunity that we have at Felton, and that I look for a place that would hold me, appreciate, develop me, and I couldn't find it. So I decided to develop that place. So this is the place that you want to work, and it is the place that's going to be reflected in these slides that there they are, that we're going to be talking about. But I also feel like people who work for us have decided to spend that part of their life working along this vision and the work that we're doing. And then it's my job to say thank you. So I have extremely dedicated people working for us, and I'll talk about one or two real fast. So Dr. Joanna Quiros, who is our Director of Children, Youth, and Family. She's been with Felton for 25 years, and I've only been there for 20 years. But when I got there, she was an administrative clerk, and now she is our Director of Children, Youth, and Family Division, about $20 million worth of business, and she probably has about 250 staff that work for her. She was a pregnant teen in our teenage parenting program. So she was a 16-year-old mom. So she's been there for 25 years, and she's only 42 years old. And she's Dr. Quiros now, and she runs a big-ass division, and we've got some of the most incredible programs that we've done, and I'm really excited about that because I'm the one who raised her in the business space to do this incredible work. But we've got a lot of success stories in our organization because we've got leaders with lived experiences and all of that working in the organization. So when I look at my organization, I look at people who are way more brilliant than I am, way more dedicated than I am, know the work deeper than I do, and my job is to build business. That's what I've dedicated myself to because that's what I couldn't understand, why we in the inner city Black community had no businesses. You know, I think about the difference between Antioch, where we're going to do a new program soon, and Oakland is that you don't even have an In-N-Out burger in Oakland. You don't have Chipotle. No, we have Chipotle. We don't have, what's that thing, Chick-fil-A. And there's a whole bunch of businesses that only position themselves outside of your communities, but so that the community is always this desert of services and opportunity, and that's what makes it hurt so much to be inside of those communities. So our job, my job, is to figure out how to build successful business. And what's important for me is that our mission is to drive positive and sustainable community-led change where all have equitable access to innovation, high-quality, evidence-informed service. I'm reading these because you'll see as we go along that is the foundation for what we do. Our mission, rooted in equity, Felton Institute transforms the quality of life and promotes social justice to accelerate community-led change. So I have an issue because you walk past somebody who's homeless or poor and you give them $1, $5, or $10. And they're excited, you feel good about what you just did. And what I know to be true, they're still homeless, they're still mentally ill, and they're still on that street begging, and that wasn't the answer. I'm not saying that they didn't appreciate the money in the minute, because I got a lot of people who I do that too, and they do appreciate, they recognize you, they give you all kinds of love, but that's not the answer. So I feel like our job is to create movement. It's not enough that we serve homeless people or we serve people who are mentally ill. It's not enough. You got to create movement. They don't deserve to live like that. So you've got to create movement. One of the things that Felton does is that we provide services from birth to end of life. And we have about 8 different divisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've added 1 or 2 since then because I'm launching a technical assistance division, and we got some other divisions out there. But when I got to Felton, they were going bankrupt. And they hired me as a turnaround consultant to help them save Felton Institute after 120 years of service. My background, worked at Coopers & Lybrand, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I have a master's in entrepreneurship, taxation, private sector accounting. I didn't come into the nonprofit work. I came into the for-profit side. I was the head of an international reporting group for Bank of America after I left Coopers, and then I went in and started doing my own firm. And in my own firm, we worked with Cinta Oil, Crown Zellerbach, Bechtel, a whole bunch of corporations, and those were my clients. And we started working with some nonprofits too, but we started over 20 businesses for people. So I like to build businesses because, anyway. So when I got to Felton, they hired me to try and save the agency, and I was able to save the agency in 2 years. And we had 10 computers for 170 staff. We were an old-ass agency, just an old agency. 170 staff, 10 computers. And Bob Bennett, who I don't know if any of you know Bob Bennett, and Pat Bennett with RDA and Associates back then, he came as the interim CEO, and I gave him a report, said this is where we are, this is where we were, this is where we are, and this is where we need to go as a consultant. And he said, like, damn, this is an incredible report. Can I use it? I said, you use that however you want to. I don't know you, you don't know me. Use the report. But then he said, I want to do what you wrote up, but I can't do it without you. So will you join me? And I said, no, I'm tired. It was hard. We had to lay off 50 staff. We had to sell the corporate headquarters. We had to liquidate the endowment. We had to do all kinds of stuff to keep this organization out of bankruptcy. Dirty, nasty work, which is consulting work. I got it. But I was ready to move on. And he was like, no, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. So we talked a long time about what a community-based organization should do and could do. So we decided that as a community-based organization, we wanted to build one that was committed to evidence-based practices, and that we wanted to have data to be able to demonstrate the outcomes. And we felt like in the nonprofit space, everybody goes in front of city council with 2 or 3 families who say, these people have saved my life. And I felt like corporations talk differently. They talk with all this data and with all this other stuff that they do. And we were trying to figure out what it would take for us to do that. And then we felt like the best voice to talk about what's needed in the community is actually the community voice. So we were sitting here saying, so then how do we establish a community voice that actually can be stronger than San Francisco State, Stanford, UC Berkeley? I mean, how do we get the chance to speak to power? And so we felt like we needed to build that. So we built a research, training, and evaluation division. We've had PCORI grants, we've had SAMHSA grants. We've committed ourselves to evidence-based practices. The staff didn't want to do it. I forced people to do it. They wouldn't do it. So what I did is I started giving people $2,000 if you learn motivational interviewing. And you passed and certified it, I gave you $2,000. And then I gave you $500 for your next evidence-based practice that you did. And then I gave you another $2,000 when you did CBT for psychosis. And when you did these other things, because what we did is we started doing the training. And we certified it, which meant that you had to go through all the work. And then we started getting pushback from the managers because now staff were focusing on getting these certificates and not doing the work. So it's one of those things where you keep wrestling with it, but I was determined to sit there and say, no, we're going to have a rigor. We're going to demonstrate the fact, because what I know to be true is when I walk into a room, it is never the case when I'm the minority in the room where people walk around and say, oh, that's the smartest guy in the room. Oh, he's the one who's the best person in the room. So I'm getting ready to say, so First of all, we're not going to screw up. So I want us to be rigorous about everything that we do. We're not going to screw up. Secondarily, we're going to know our shit. Excuse me. We're going to know our stuff. And so anyway, so this is where we are with Felton. You got to go back a slide or two. Still go back. Let me see where we are. Okay, yep, your next slide. So, yep, that's perfect. So Felton was only in the city and county of San Francisco for all those years. The city and county of San Francisco was making some political decisions about how they were doing behavioral health that threatened the very fabric of everything that we did. So I decided that we weren't going to stay in San Francisco for our services. So as of now, we're in 7 counties, and the last county we just added was Contra Costa County for the work that we're doing. And Sonoma. Yeah, excuse me, and Sonoma. We added those 2 counties for the work that we're doing. We are mainly focused in San Francisco and Alameda. The reason why Contra Costa County was always in the target for what we were going to do, we are definitely going to be national, as you'll see in the next couple of years. We'll be all over the country. Before COVID, we had 8 international delegations the 3 years before COVID that came to visit Felton. From Singapore, from Hong Kong, from Great Britain. I was asked to speak in Milan. I was asked to speak in Singapore on the work that we were doing. None of that was a part of the plan. It was just that if we do really, really good work, then people are going to want to copy that model. That is the framework that we operate on, is that we have to have models that are rigorous, demonstrate how it produces outcomes, and then we basically can share it with other people, and then they can have the same kind of success without having to spend the time that we had to take to deliver it. So I grew up understanding that McDonald's was everywhere, because that was the only franchise that was in the hood, McDonald's and Burger King, but McDonald's. But it's the same all over the place. So I said, why can't we do that for how we deliver care and how we deliver success? And one more quick story. Marva Collins in Chicago used to be a sister who got all kinds of national recognition for having a school that graduated almost 100% of her kids into college. And I used to wonder, it didn't make sense to me. I'm sitting here in Cleveland. They're talking about her school. Chicago's got like 20 million people, and she's got a school of 200 people or 250. And she was in the White House, and they were talking about how wonderful her school was. And I was like, what the hell is wrong? Why don't you think everybody in Chicago wants the same thing? So if she's figured it out, then why isn't Chicago the best damn school district in the entire country? Because she's figured it out. She's right there. She's getting recognized on a national basis. It's not about me. It's not about Felton. It shouldn't have been about her. It should have been how we can get this kind of support to all of our kids. So that's why I'm model driven. I want models that can be replicated, and that's what we're building. Next slide. So it was a misrepresentation. This was for 18 months. So in reality, that's 90,000. We do 60,000 services a year. Now we do like 87,000. But when we did this slide, it was 60,000 people a year. Our data tells us that 79% of our clients are below poverty level. Mental health, we have 51 programs. We have over 65 programs now. Divisions, we have 6. As you know, we have about 8. Languages that we deliver services in 13 languages. 40% of our clients are female. 59% based on this time are ethnic minorities. And we have mental health services for the deaf population in Alameda County and in San Francisco County. We have people who are deaf, who are LCSWs and MFTs who deliver mental health services to the deaf population. We just got a call from Orange County because they want us to do those services down there. We're providing those services for Kaiser Corporation right now because who else has mental health services for the deaf population? That's one of our 13 languages that we provide the services in. But when you really think about things, and you think about things in thorough, because I have a tendency to be a little bit detail-oriented. When you bring in people into your organization who are deaf, every single staff meeting that you're in, you have to have a translator. Everything you do. So it's not like you do one thing and it doesn't impact everything. The good news about having services from birth to end of life, which used to frustrate me, because it means that we're not like the best child care provider. We're not the best TAY provider. We're not the best older adult provider, because we're providing services for everybody. So everybody always says, who is Felton? What is Felton? We're the largest outpatient mental health providers in San Francisco and now in a whole bunch of other places too. But we also had the best program for schizophrenia, for bipolar disorder. Our program was the one that led to the statewide funding for schizophrenia and bipolar. We're in 6 counties now with that program specifically, and it's the national model. But we did that. We literally built that program. We did partner with Stanford, UCSF, but it wasn't their program, it was our program. They just did some evaluation for us in that program. We done launched that. So the goal is let's do things that really matter. Let's figure out how to do it rigorously and how to replicate it. Next slide. So I need to talk about CERTSI real fast. I told you we needed data. We tried to go and find a data system to help us track data because we wanted to sit there and say, if we're doing something really important, we got to be able to tell the story. So how do you get the data? We couldn't find a data system for it. So Felton was the first company to build an electronic health record on the Salesforce.com platform. Now, I want you to hear this. We weren't the first nonprofit. We were the first company to build an electronic health record on the Salesforce.com platform because it was an open development platform, which means that we could build it the way we wanted to. So we did it. Mark Benioff talked about us when he did a presentation on the East Coast about that. When he built his software to deal with sales, that he didn't imagine it would be used for healthcare. In 2007, we got the Appy Award for having the best software program on the Salesforce.com platform. In 2011, they gave us a $200,000 Force for Change grant that they gave for us and 7 other organizations to launch the software and make it its own business. Out of all of those 8 companies, we're the only one who's still operating. And now we provide services to, next slide. That's more about how it works. Next slide. So these are our customers: Seneca, Tenderloin Neighborhood Development Corporation, Open House. There's a whole bunch of people who use our software to drive their organizations. It's cheap. It's available for your support as well. We don't make any money off of it, but we built it because we needed to be in 7 counties, all kinds of services, 67 programs that we run right now. We needed a way to track our data so we can demonstrate the effectiveness of the program that we do. So we created the software, and now a whole bunch of other CBOs are using it too. So now they have data, which is important. Next slide. This is how we use it for San Francisco Suicide Prevention, which is the suicide hotline in San Francisco, is a part of Felton. They became a part of Felton about 4 years ago. They were struggling after 40 years, and they were going out of business because they couldn't survive. And then we said, okay, we'll take you over, and we reinvented them and supported them in a way that allowed them to grow. And I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to move faster because I know we're going to run out of time. I'll give you an example of how you make the right decisions for the right reasons. Forget what the contract says, for the right reason. So when we took them over, they had 10 staff, and they relied on 200 volunteers to do 24/7 hotlines, emergency phone support for people who are suicidal. And it's a part of a national network. Every county has to have it. Every county in California has to have it. And we were making those responses. It didn't make sense to me because I felt like you were too dependent on volunteers. Their software systems were crashing. They were raising hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to try and meet their budget. They were still losing $100,000 a year. And Eve Meyer, who was a wonderful Jewish woman, had like the biggest, she raised like $400,000 a year, and she still couldn't break even with her budget. So when it came to Felton, I told the county, is that you got to pay for this. And they were like, they hadn't increased their budget since 1992. They were paying $492,000. And I did a budget that said it took like $1.3 million to run this organization. So I said, you got to pay $1.3 million because when it left Eve and came to us, all those people who were donors were going to leave and act like now it's going to be run by us, and we were going to have a $500,000 deficit. So I said, no, county, you got to pay for this. So they told me, Grant Colfax, who just stepped in as their behavioral health director, said, hey, you're right, Al, but I'm brand new. I'm not going to pay for this. And I said, okay, but you got to. And he said, no, we don't have to. We went to the supervisors. They gave us $100,000. And they said, okay, now you got $592,000. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to sign the contract. And in January, I'm shutting down the program. Because that's all you're paying for. You're only paying for half a year. They increased the budget to $1.3 million. And I said, thank you. And they said, why are you thanking us? You basically told, you the one that basically told us we had to do it. And I'm happy about that. Because you need to speak truth to people when you're doing the work. What happened was we got that contract. The first thing we did is redid all of the computer systems and stuff so that we could outsource it and we could have 30 staff instead of having 10 staff and 200 volunteers. 3 months later, COVID hit. So the way it worked is that all of the volunteers would come in on BART to this private location they don't tell people about. They're in a big bullpen area, and then they make all these calls, and they're answering all these things and talk to all these people because there's 8 different hotlines that come into San Francisco suicide. But during COVID, guess what happened? None of those people were getting on BART coming in there. Secondarily, they couldn't be in a room where they were all talking to each other. So we had set up a system that allowed us to triage those calls. So during COVID, the whole thing would have been shut down. But because it came to Felton, guess what? It continued to operate. At a time when it was needed more than ever before, it continued to operate. We did not miss a day. So making the right decision is important whatever you do, wherever you do it. So this is the system that we use to, because we have a data system, we've created a data system that allows us to track all these phone calls and what we do with everybody. And then 988 came. 988 is, instead of calling 911, call 988 and we'll send out behavioral health people. Guess what? They gave it to the hotlines that we run. So we have the 988 line. Now, they hired a contractor in the state of California to develop a data system to allow all these systems to talk to each other and all that. And they've got like a 3-year process where they're going to figure out what everybody does and meet with everybody. Our data system already has been developed, so we're doing it right now. Literally, it just launched, and we have a data system that tracks all the data. Everything that they're trying to do in this whole comprehensive system, we can do it right now. And we're going to be providing it to other other organizations that want to do it. What's important is that rollout for 988 is a national rollout. which means every single state in this country has to do the rollout. So I don't care whether the city and county of San Francisco uses it or not. I don't care whether Alameda County uses it or not, because I can sell it anywhere in the entire country. And that is why we grow. So somebody in our bio just said that we grew, since I took over 6.5 years ago, we went from 17 million, our all-time high after 125 years of operation. We've gone to 48 million in our budget. But we just had a budget meeting with our board because we had to redo the budget because we actually grew this year to 57 million. So we grew from 36 million to 57 million this year, 21 million in 1 year this year. And that doesn't, and we grew our staff, we hired 204 people last year. Now that's pretty important because I heard that Salesforce is laying off 10% of its workforce. Twitter just laid off 11,000 people. Meta just laid off a whole bunch of people in San Francisco. Google's doing the same, but we hired 204 people last year. That doesn't include 100 additional staff that we just added to our workforce. So sometimes when you just do the right thing, it works. Just do the right thing. Sometimes it works. Next slide. CBO capacity building, innovation and problem solving. So to me, innovation is really a different kind of a discussion. I have a heart. So first of all, let's all of us just recognize that we are not as good as most of the people who lived before us. And we can't act like we're the first ones discovering shit because we didn't discover no shit. They did everything that we want to do, they did. The Nation of Islam was doing everything that you're trying to do in Richmond right now a long time ago. So we're not new to this. We have privileges that our parents and grandparents and other people didn't have. And in many cases, that'll make us lazy. So don't buy in to watching all those football games. So first of all, I salute you because there's football games on TV right now and you're here. So I salute you for doing that work. But my expectation of what I do with my life. So my wife has lost her brother, sister, mom, dad, all of her relatives are dead. My brother, sister, mom died too. And I lost my mom and dad during COVID and all that. But my brother and sister have died many years ago and stuff. So I always wonder, why has God saved me? My answer is that because of what I do with my life. That's why I'm here. Secondary, I don't have fear. And why don't I have fear? Because I have all those saints who would never let me fail. So therefore, there's no reason for us to be afraid about damn thing. Just do the work because they're not bigger and stronger than the people who provide and support us. Next slide. So our technical assistance work, which is part of what we're doing with Rich Minds, right? Because what we had to do is we had to build this very elaborate system. We are the most rigorous agency in the entire city and county of San Francisco and probably most of these other places because we have systems and structures that nobody else has. So we can run all these systems. And here's what I've decided and what I recognize as a consultant is that many people in the CBO space are here because they care about people, are here because they've been trained to be clinicians, are here because they've been peers and have had to need the servicing, are here because family members have died or need the support and all that. So we're here because we're loving and we're caring people, but most people in this space have not been trained to be business people. So what I understand is that I'm not smart enough to be a freaking psychologist or a psychiatrist and all of that. I'm not. And I'm not smart enough to do a whole bunch of things, but I build business. And I say, you don't have to look at what I say, trust what I do. Look at what I do, I build business. So that's what we do. But what I also say is that because the QA director, quality assurance director for the city and county of San Francisco was my quality assurance director. And they took him from me. The person who was the second in command, she got taken by the city and county of Santa Clara to be their QA director down there. Our adult division director is now working in the city and county of San Francisco because they took my staff to do that. So I'm saying that for a reason, because we've increased staff compensation across our agency by over 30% for the entire workforce over the last 4 years. Everybody, at least 30%, which makes us one of the highest paid CBOs right now in this space. But not because Al's such a sweet guy. I do tell you, I like to say thank you. So I think that my staff deserve to be paid whatever the hell the market bears. And we want to pay them. but also because the city and county of San Francisco tried to take all my staff. In 1 week, we got 5 layoff notices from our LCSWs and MFTs because the county increased their salaries by $20,000. And this was coming out of COVID. They couldn't find any staff, so they increased their salaries by $20,000. And it was like April. And we were pissed because our contracts don't have that kind of money in it, but I had to keep my staff. I lost one of them, but we increased our salaries by $20,000 to match theirs, and the rest of them turned around and stayed. And then we went back to the other social workers, and then we went to everybody else, and we started increasing those salaries because here's the way it works. And here's what you need to understand about the business of being in nonprofits. Stop treating it like you need to be a nun or you need to be a priest to do this work. We're actually asking you to do the hardest work that needs to be done out here, and we're not even paying you for it. The way nonprofits are set up is that they give nonprofits 75% of the money that it takes you to do your work, and then tell you to go fundraise for the rest of it. They don't do that for PG&E. They don't do that for any of the other providers out there. They pay them, but they're going to give you a little bit of money, like you should get excited, and then you got to fundraise to pay the rest of your contracts. That's some bullshit. I'm just saying. So we don't play that. I told you, I'm a business person. I came from the business side, so we don't do that. You pay us for the services that we provide, and you pay us enough to provide for the staff that we get. So we've got 24/7 services that we provide around the clock. And a lot of those contracts, they say they want behavioral health specialists to come out there. So people are trying to tell me, well, here's an MFT and here's an LCSW. She's going to go out here and do this work. And I'm going to say, really? I tell my staff, so this is a conversation about what? Real talk, real solutions, I tell them to live in the real world. That's what I tell everybody that lives in the real world. So you are not going to find, the city and county of San Francisco needs 6,000 people just to meet the requirements of their city and county, and they can't find it. So how the hell are you going to find it? Are you paying more than they are? You got better benefits than they do and all that stuff? Well, we're trying our damnedest to make sure that we do. We don't have to be that much over them, but we just need to be competitive before we can keep our people. But so my feeling is, and what I did when I'm looking at it, I'm saying I can't win because I can't find workforce. But out of that 204 people that we hired, 41 of them were previously incarcerated. I'm just saying, 41 of them were previously incarcerated. What's amazing is that many of those individuals actually went back and got their masters. Actually, they got out. And they're actually licensed clinical people, some of them. And the rest of them, many of them aren't. But you know what they're not afraid to do? They're not afraid to go into the Tenderloin in San Francisco and deal with drug addicts at midnight. They'll walk in there and they're not even scared. I had clinicians talking about, well, I want to do that work, but who's going to protect me? And I'm going to say, okay, so stop. I'm not going to pay you to go into the jungle and then have somebody come out there and protect you, which only makes sense. I wouldn't want my daughter or my baby going out there and doing that work either because it's too complicated, it's too hard and all that stuff. But if we live in the real world, then how are we going to get this workforce done? So I'm sitting here saying, take people who aren't afraid to go into that community. And after you serve 15 years in prison, you ain't afraid. You ain't afraid. And then I always tell people the reason why I'm building my Justice Department and all this was our fastest growing division doing all the work around these people is that I've never been incarcerated. So what am I supposed to believe about incarceration? What they tell me in the movies? Do people get raped? Do they get stabbed? They get killed? They get gangbanged? Whatever. So I'm going to say, so one of the things that I do is I hire people who've had the experience, who know the truth. Because you know what I found out is that people who go through those kind of experiences, they have to learn how to hustle too and survive. Well, so they'll talk shit to you all the time. You won't know when it's bullshit. You won't know when it's real. My people in the justice side sit there and say, shut up, that's bullshit. and here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're doing. I'm going to say that's incredible. I have a big department right now of women who've been previously incarcerated, and we're working on that group too. We're building out that capacity as well. So the real truth here is that we're expecting people to come out of incarcerated. And during COVID, they let a lot of people out because the city of Oakland gave us a contract to run the Corps. And the Corps was the group. We are the group that serves with all the people being released from the jails. And we have to connect them to services. And we started that, we got the contract in January 2020 and had to build a workforce during COVID to handle this group of people. But what I realize and what we understand is the reason why we're effective is because the people who we hire to do the work know exactly what they're talking about. So they know what it feels like to have to kind of re-engage with your family after serving 10 years in prison, to re-engage with your children when they don't know you that way, for you to walk around feeling the scars, the internal scars of being abused and traumatized in prison that you can't even talk to anybody about because it doesn't make you feel good. And yet we're acting and asking them to act like normal people in doing this work. And secondarily, we act like they should be happy to be cleaning streets and working for minimum wage. So my goal is to make sure that I treat incarceration like it's a master's degree. So those people get a chance to do the same work that MSTs can do, LCSWs can do in that, because they have a master's in incarceration. And it matters in the work that we do. And they're doing the heavy lifting. Next slide. United Council of Human Service, San Francisco, used to be Mother Brown's Kitchen. The county of San Francisco came to us and asked us would we be their fiscal sponsors as of October 1 this year. $13 million organization. They serve between 200 to 400 meals a day. They have about, they have an RV park with 150 RVs in it where they house homeless people in transitional housing. They have a tent city outside of their place where they have another 20 tents where they have people who live in these tents. They have a overnight shelter where people can sleep during the rain and all that stuff, and they work there in the thing. And they've had a history of being unsupported by their fiscal sponsors. They've had a history of having mismanagement concerns. And so the city came to us and asked us, would we take that over and would we do that work? So we're doing that work for them. And what's going to be great is that they do incredible work, and by the time we get through, they're going to have incredible systems because we just onboarded them onto our existing systems. So what I have to say to you is ultimately, our goal is that we can't do all the work. There's no way to do it. And we believe that you are supposed to do it person by person, and you've got to do it so it matters for each person. And we can't do all of that. But what I commit to you to do with Felton Institute, whenever you get a chance, is I will help you make sure that you have the strongest systems. I will make sure that you're supported by HR. When we onboarded 102 staff from UCHS, they came to our new employee orientation just like theirs. And they saw who we were because they saw how rigorous we are in terms of all the trainings and all that stuff. We've done management training for them and support, and they appreciate that too. I want Contessa to stand up. Contessa Tate. Because I didn't give her all that bling around her neck now. She came to us with all that bling around there, but she's going to run our program in Antioch. And what I like about Contessa is that she took the vision that we've held for a long time and then doubled down on it, because we've hired nothing but people from Antioch and Pittsburgh to do this work, 24/7 response, working for the police department. The police department is overwhelmed because they say they have 10,000 calls a year, whatever it is, and they can't respond to any of them on time. So we're sitting here saying, so why are you trying? Why don't you let us respond to all of the behavioral health calls? And why don't you let us respond to all these other things? And that's what we're doing. So we expect to take over at least 30% of the calls that the police department gets and all that. The important thing is that when the police come out and somebody's having a major behavioral health issue or challenge, or even an emotional challenge with the family or whatever it is, there's nothing that a police officer and or the fire department can do in that moment. They're not trained to sit there and spend 4 hours with this family. They're not trained to spend their time moving you around. They have to make a decision. And they got to do something right now. Arrest, not arrest. 5150 or not 5150. Or that's all they can do. So we've got to understand is that that's a wrong model. So in our model, we're going to engage with those people and we're going to work with them. Now, we're hired to do that response 24/7 every day, around the clock. And when we're not doing it, we're not going to be on our computers playing games. We're going to be in the community, engaging with people in the community. Everybody on our team already is in the community, and we're doing it. But what we can do, and she built an incredible team because we have EMS people, we have MFTs, we have caseworkers, clinical caseworkers, people who were previously incarcerated. All of those are the people who we build out to build out this team of people who are going to engage in the community because they're already in the community. But what's more important is that the contract said this. But here's what Felton's going to do, because we're rigorous about what we do. Felton is going to make sure that we follow up with every single person that we engage with, because those situations aren't one-time situations. People don't get healed because we come out there and say, you're healed. That's not the way it works. So we're going to follow up with them. And that data that we're going to collect through our systems is going to demonstrate the fact that this is the model that people should use around in the country. You should have people from the community serving people in the community with people who look and act like them in the community. And you should do follow-up work, and you should work with these families to help build. So in my mind, it's a part of my original concept that said my job is to build community. Our job is to strengthen our communities. And that's what I want to support you in doing in your community. That's enough. Is there another slide after that? I'm sure that's enough. Regardless of what's up there.
All right, let's give it up to Mr. Gilbert. Woo! All right, beautiful people, we're getting ready to wrap it up now. Antoine, if you want to start making your way up. Thank you. Thank you. Today could not have been what it is and what it has been throughout the day without your presence. So we're grateful for that. As Dr. King said, we cannot walk alone. And it's because of that understanding that Rich Minds reached out to partner with Felton Institute, because we cannot walk alone. And we need each and every one of you. Please, sir, please, ma'am, get on board with this team. Allow us to work together and build the kind of partnerships that's going to be effective, that's going to make a difference in the lives of our families. These families dependent on us. They need us. They need you. And so having said that, I'm going to turn to my dear brother, and he's going to come forth and lead us in the process of giving away this.
So how many of y'all still got y'all ticket? Raise your hand. How many of y'all got y'all ticket? How many of y'all got a truck? Because you're going to need a truck to take this home. You know what I'm saying? If you in a Yugo, you're going to be in trouble. Are you in a Pinto, somebody else going to have to take it to the house for you. Hey, so listen. We're going to raffle off this 65-inch TV. But the brother from Felton said something that I live by. It's not a competition. It's a coalition. I'm going to say it again. It's not a competition. It's a coalition. And if you don't realize that no one person can heal themselves by one organization, it takes many of us to deal with those clients, participants. I like calling people participants because they participate in their healing. I can't take credit what God has already done. I'll just play a part in it. And I want to thank the county in the back, our county partners, Contra Costa County, for help putting this on. I want to thank all our partners. So who got the raffle tickets? Now I'm going to pick this ticket. I don't want no problem now. I am from Richmond. So, and then after I pull this ticket, Brother Graham, you need to be on standby so you can close this out. See, I'm going to do this gangster stuff. I'm going to pull all of them out and pick one ticket. So they say, shake it up, it's going to get shook up. Yeah, that's everybody get an equal chance this way, because see how I got stuck in the bottle? Yeah, I want nobody to say they didn't get an equal chance to use their remote control tonight. Y'all see me shaking it up, right? I don't want no problem with y'all. I don't want no problem with y'all. Y'all got some El Cerrito folks in the house too now. Gauchos. Got them gauchos in the house. I have the winning ticket in my hand. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, all those who are here to try to win this beautiful, magnificent TV today, the winning number is, oh, matter of fact, hold on, let me get my glasses. No, them the look good glasses. I need to get them seeing glasses. I should have been a comic, but I want to quit my day job. Let me focus up. Y'all looking at them tickets? Y'all know your number. Do you know your number? Let me lift up the bag glasses. Ooh, let me focus up. All right. So let's look at the first number. Everybody should have that number. 741. 4, what? See, you threw me off. Let me start over again. 741-0022. Who got it? Who got it? I'm going to say it one more time. Hold on now. I'm going to start now. I won't be done. 0022. Nobody. Going once. Going twice. Gone. Try one more time. The last 4 numbers. That's funny. The last 4 numbers is 0019. 19. You threw your ticket away. Y'all better get that dumpster diver over there, ladies and gentlemen. We got a real loud one here today, ladies and gentlemen. An official dumpster diver. She threw her ticket in the garbage can. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the dumpster diving exclusive at the United Methodist Church. Dumpster diving extravaganza. I need to see that ticket. I need to see that. I need to verify your garbage can skills. Ooh, look at this ticket. I ain't touching that ticket. That ticket got some things on it. Ooh, Lord Jesus. Help her. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't know how she get it home now, but I ain't picking it up. I'm on retirement. Come on, Graham, close this out. But Graham, hold on 1 second, y'all. Let us close this out. Brother Graham is going to close this out. Graham.
What's that? Yeah, okay. Stay right there, Brother Antoine. 8 hours ago, Antoine and I were sitting out front there, anticipating today.
Yeah.
Anticipating all these faces, all these vendors, all the people here. You know who walked up next to us with a smiling face? Was Miss Audrey Montana. Audrey, where are you? Wait, there she is. All right. Audrey has been here with us since the sun came up from Contra Costa County, and Jennifer Brueggemann. We really want to thank them for the county support on this. We got Fatima here. We've had, there's people who've come and gone that you haven't even really recognized yet. We had Gerald Lonecker here, who's head of Chief of Child and Adolescent Programs for Contra Costa County. Richmond PD paid a visit, came in and said hello. We've had, of course, our wonderful speakers, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, John Joya, Dr. Devano, and of course, Al Gilbert. Wow. How do you follow that, right? This has been a wonderful event. We want to thank you all for staying so long. We know this was a lot. We had a lot we were trying to accomplish, and we felt we got half of it done. Yeah, we got half of it done. All right, we had a lot of wonderful stuff going on. Again, thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Reverend Shumay so we can close out in prayer.
Again, give yourselves a big round of applause. We thank all of you for coming out and participating with us in this momentous occasion. Shall we all stand, please? Can we all stand? Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise God our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. Let us all say, amen. All right. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you.